We don't have anybody that's signed up to speak.
Oh, well, that makes it easy.
No, there's another list over there. Yeah, there's another list. This is the second page.
Oh, there it is.
I guess you're going to take mine off, right? Your name off the list,
Hey, did you know that Celebration Town Hall is now live?
All right, Gary.
Thank you. I'm Gary Hudspeth from 1471 Resolute Street at Spring Lake. The subject today is landscape contractor for Spring Lake. On Wednesday, April the 12th, 2 weeks ago, the company came out and sprayed a liquid chemical on most of the lawns. I asked the guy what it was. He said it was weed killer, insect killer, and liquid fertilizer. 48 hours later, as last year, my lawn turned yellow and areas turned brown, and some of it has died. I sent photos to the board 2 weeks ago, last Friday, to give you an idea. Now, to be fair, not every lawn in Spring Lake was sprayed, and the results were inconsistent. I watched him when he did it, and when he sprayed with his wand in one area for several times, that got the grass to turn yellow and die. So now that's 2 weeks later, and if you came over to my house and looked around Spring Lake, you might say, with our warm weather, well, that's because you haven't watered your lawn. It's turned brown like a lot of places. We're in a drought. You may think that, but my schedule for watering is 3 times a week, and I will assure you the day before the lawn was sprayed with this chemical, I had a green lawn that I cultivated all through the winter. I talked to the owners of another landscape contractor, New Leaf, you're familiar with them, and I asked them about spraying 3 chemicals in one application, and they said, that's probably not a good idea. It's too much chemical. They called it too hot, and it would burn the grass, which it did. The last time ProScape did this was September 14th, and it took me 4 months to recover from that application. So I wonder why I'm paying landscaping service other than mowing, edging, and trimming to live with a lawn that's yellow and brown and parts of it are dying for 6 to 8 months out of the year. When I look at the rest of Celebration, particularly the public areas, and they look really nice. You know, I noticed in the covenant's minutes that some houses in Celebration are, there's reports of dead sod, which requires the homeowner to replace it. Well, there are several areas of dead sod in Spring Lake. So someday in the future, when the covenant's inspector comes out to Spring Lake and recognizes there's dead sod in a lot of areas, well, guess who's going to replace that? Not the homeowner. It's the contractor, because it's written into the contract. Now, I cannot speak for all the residents of Spring Lake, but I don't mind paying a little bit more if we get a landscape contractor that does a better job than just mow and edge and spray chemicals that haven't been checked. However, I'm not...
Thank you.
Gary,
Thank you,
Gary, also there. Todd, can you go out there and inspect tomorrow
Okay.
and find out what's going on? And if ProScape is at fault, let's get this addressed.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right. The next person was Bill Ferry. Oh, you? Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, Dave Hansen.
Hi, I'm David Hansen. I live in Artisan Park. I take advantage of some of the walking trails, and I just had an idea occur to me. If something happened, you know, somebody has a problem, an emergency, how would they direct rescue to help them out? I was thinking it would be helpful if we named the various ponds. So as far as I know, the lake is the only one that's named. But if we name the other bodies of water, some simple, you know, maybe a Disney character name or something, that would be helpful. They could, you know, direct a rescue. The other thing, was similar to mile markers on the highways. It would also be helpful along the trail as well to have a mile marker. And it would be helpful, I'm sure, for maintenance. If somebody found a loose board or something, they could direct the attention to where it could go. That's it. Thank you.
All right, David and Leonard, you're both CUD liaisons.
I brought the mile marker part up before. I've never brought up lake names, so I will make sure that we talk about them this next meeting.
I don't think Disney would like to use their names though, but
No, and we can even number the lakes.
well, actually, let's have a resident contest and maybe do something like that. Okay. Ward Riley? Or-
Hi, my name is Ward Riley. I live in the Charleston area, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight, hearing other people in the community talk about their problems. I'm going to talk to you about our problem. What our problem is we're in Charleston. New roofs were put on the residences in Charleston, and early in that process, something was discovered, which is to say that there was a problem with the sprinkler system being too close to the roof, so that when you drive a 1 3/4-inch nail into a pipe that is 1.5 inches away from the nail, you get this. Okay. So what happened was we got flooded out. 302, 304, 306, and unfortunately, there was an awareness on the part of folks in the appropriate service area here in town government that there was a problem because it had happened to another unit earlier. And there was, apparently, or by hearsay, an action plan in place. However, whatever that action plan was, didn't work for us. Okay. So what we are seeking here, I mean, yes, we can go through the insurance company. We did. And our damage, I can't speak for the others, was somewhere between $18,000 and $20,000, which required a lot of work, which we have to endure every day. All right. There are certain unreimbursed expenses. For example, the deductible on the insurance, the cost of reestablishing the line, which is $1,000, I believe, and we want to know who is going to claim responsibility for those losses. That is our question.
Okay. I believe you've already submitted to your insurance company and
Oh, yes.
and ours, and now we're supposed to submit to ours regarding that. Is that correct?
They have been notified of the issues, and what normally happens, our insurance company advised us when we did our first roof replacement back in 2015 and 2016 that the course of action for the homeowner is to file the claim. And what ends up happening is their insurance company will subrogate against the vendor's insurance company should there be fault on the vendor's part, or against our insurance company if for some reason CROA has some fault. So typically that's your insurance company that handles it from there. And so what they would then do, or I've seen happen in other instances myself as well, is when my insurance company subrogated against the insurance company that the insurance company for the person who caused the damage, and in this case it was a car accident, they reimbursed me my $500. So I would imagine that if your insurance company feels that there is any fault on the part of the vendor or CROA, that they will subrogate against the insurance.
Have you any corroboration on this?
That's possible. However, the bill for the $1,000, basically $986 from Southern Fire Protection to repair the broken pipe, inspect the lines, and redo it, is not covered by insurance. So they will not subrogate. That is my understanding. Because they don't cover the cause of the accident, was what the inspector told me.
I don't know, I can't speak to that.
So that, we're going to be out. If they happen to win a case, maybe we'll get the $1,000 back. Who knows when that will be. In the meantime, we've had to put up with a mess, a constant mess. Before we moved in, I had the whole house painted, new wood floors, all done. And a few months later, we had this that could have been avoided. Do you people have any questions?
I think the board doesn't comment during the owner
Did anybody
comment
else?
period.
So what do you plan to do for this? Just contact your insurance company? Is that
That's
it?
all I can do.
You have to go through the procedure.
Pardon me?
You have to go through the procedure. Yeah, that's all we can do is contact our insurance company and see where they go from there.
Can you do that as far as my out-of-pocket also?
Susan's going to look at that
As
right
far
now.
as the 800 and that?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like
Thank
to,
you.
when we get a response, we'd like to get that in writing.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
And Susan, can you follow up with us? Let
Yes,
us know in a couple weeks?
absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, Mike Jackson.
Hi, Mike Jackson, 413 Sycamore Street. Here tonight to address or make a comment on tab 3, the discussion you're going to have a little bit later in regards to live streaming and filming of the CROA board workshops. I was in California last week, so I missed the last workshop, and I dialed in and thought I was going to be able to watch it live, and obviously it wasn't there. And then once I got home, I tried to have access to it. It wasn't posted either. And then Jack and I had some communication during the week a couple of times, and it's now been moved, or at least all the streaming has been moved behind the password, behind the firewall, password protected. When you look at the website, it says, you know, the lead-in to the streaming section says, want to learn about the decisions your board of directors is making about the community but can't make it to the meetings. CROA meetings are now being streamed online for your convenience. Watch them from any computer or mobile device wherever you are in the world. I think it's a little ironic, and I know that your past president spoke to this, I think, at the workshop last week, but I think it's a little ironic that we've pressed for the transparency with the current CROA contract, with the current HOA contract. We've been pressing for that for quite a period of time, and really have looked for transparency, and quite frankly have been quite critical of the organization for not being transparent. And now we see that CROA is considering and going to discuss tonight becoming less transparent and not making the recordings available. The other thing I would state, or just remind you of, and Jack knows this because I gave this to him back when you were at your strategic planning meeting, Florida statute 72306 allows for any resident to tape a meeting, audio or video. So the government has decided it's a good thing. They think it's good for transparency and everything else. For the CROA board to move back from that, when a resident can still come in and tape a meeting, because they're allowed to, any meeting, seems a little ironic to me that we'd even be considering something like this. But I know you are, and I'm here to ask you to maintain the transparency, maintain good, open communication with the community, make these videos available, both real-time and in the archive. No problem with them behind the firewall. Nobody else should have access to them. No problem with having to sign in or anything like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that ends the owner's comment period then. Steve, has the meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes, you do.
All right, let's please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first thing I'd like to do is adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? A second?
Someone had mentioned today about adding something to the agenda on our emails.
Can we do that? Should we do that when we get to the
That's-
item, or you want to do it now?
You can.
Well,
I think
we
it's
could
just
do
that
it.
when you make your motion, you just make an adjustment to the motion. You're not moving any agenda items around or adding any new agenda
No, that's
items.
fine.
Okay, so I need a second. please.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now it's time to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting, March 29th, 2017.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, committee reports. ARC is first, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a representative from ARC tonight.
Okay,
so
then
we do not have-
covenants.
Oh.
Well, then we got ARC.
Pay attention, Steve. No, I don't do covenants, but I will, because it's first on the meeting. Michael Valaket, I was just showing up tonight, and somebody handed me a piece of paper and said, you're giving a report, so I'm kind of winging it for you tonight. But as you know, I'm on your ARC committee. Since ARC is first, I will give that report. In the last month, there was 125 applications. 110 of them were approved, and 15 of them were declined. Okay? Any questions on that? No? And then on covenants, they had letters went out on covenants enforcement, 128 first letters, 42 second letters, and 11 third letters. And I don't know, standing here tonight, how many of the situations were remedied. So we'll keep you posted on that, I guess. But I do have a few comments that I could make as an ARC committee member. If you would like, I could save that for after 8A, which is going through the ARC.
No, go ahead and do that now.
Okay. Just on some comments I heard here, and as one of your ARC members, the first gentleman that spoke about the dying lawns. I was going to talk to somebody, Albert, I guess. Well, you're not Albert, but Todd handles a lot of the lawns on the parks, but Albert is our advisor and landscape advisor, as you all know, because I've noticed that as well. Something's going on with the lawn spraying around this town. I don't know. I know my next door neighbor's yard was dying. I had to literally knock on his door and say, you realize your lawn's dying, right? You know, and I'm seeing it down our alleyway, and our neighbors, I live on campus, 422 campus, just past the school, and I've noticed it all over town because I bicycle 10 to 15 miles a day all over this town, and I've noticed lawns dying everywhere, and it's not drought related. I think that the chemical companies are overspraying, over-fertilizing, would be my guess. I'm wondering if somebody could look into that, say that again?
I think it's more they're not watering.
It could be if they're not watering, but I've seen some of these lawns with the sprinklers on a regular basis. So at any rate, that is something that needs to be looked at. And the other comment I heard that's been on my list of to-do list was, as you know, I'm a recently retired general contractor with a 45-year career at the highest level of building. And I see a total lack of contractor responsibility around this town that I think at some point ARC needs to talk about what we can do to get, I'm talking about lack of silt barriers, which is Florida state law, to keep stormwater and cement water and things like that, wastewater coming off job sites into our alleyways and streets, overflowing dumpsters that sit there for days, sometimes weeks, noise. I know on my job sites and on Sanibel, when I was chairman of the commission there, we passed rules that said if the workers are going to play loud music, it can't cross the property line. In other words, put your earbuds on, you know, because the neighbors shouldn't have to hear rap music or whatever kind of music they might be playing, rock and roll. I don't want to pick on anyone's music. And of course, there's the issues with material storage. Sometimes they overstock the jobs, you know, and I don't know if they're trying to get a discounted price for buying the entire project and having it delivered the first week, and when it's going to be months down the road, but that needs to be monitored, I think. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue, you know. So these are things that I think that ARC, I think at the end of our meetings, we should have some discussions within our own body to address these issues, and then come back to CROA for your comments and, of course, approval or denial. So,
Very good.
Welcome
okay,
that.
Very good.
Any questions?
Michael, meet with me one of these days and we'll talk about dumpsters. Okay? Because I try to propose a county ordinance for that.
Okay, definitely. Thank you.
He's our
Thank you.
dumpster man.
All right, special events.
Covenants.
I'm sorry, covenants. I'm sorry, I thought Michael covered it.
Those are
Well, he covered covenants too.
Vaughn Roberts Covenant.
Off his bicycle for this.
White. I want to thank ARC for covering some of my stats for me, so I don't have to cover them. I think Susanna gave us the same statistics. February, we had 1,325 inspections and re-inspections of single-family and service area homes. At the March covenants hearing, the committee reviewed 14 properties, with 3 resulting in imposed fines. One reminder from the guidelines as far as the garbage cans. I guess we're having a lot of issues with the garbage cans sitting out too long or for days on end. So the rule is basically it has to be hidden from the front facade of the house, and it can't go out prior to 7 p.m. on the night prior to pickup. And if you have any need for special pickups, or if your can needs replaced, you should call Celebration Sanitation. Sometimes you'll see the community inspector going around. If you have any questions or you see her out there taking photos, go out and talk to her. She's a very nice lady. She has some brochures or some information she can pass on to the community people out there. Most people, I think, peek out their windows and look at her, but don't go out and actually speak to her. She's very nice. A couple things we noticed in the covenants meetings I'd like to just mention is a lot of these problems I think could be solved if people would, prior to actually doing anything on the exterior of their home, to call town hall. A lot of people are taking action on their own outside, not knowing that there are rules that govern this. If people would do that, it would save a lot of problems for the ARC and covenants as well. And the second thing we've noticed in a lot of our meetings is that people will come in and say, well, I was never notified. Well, what we've found is town hall does notify the people, but they're using what current information they have on hand at town halls for contact information. So people really need to keep town hall up to date with current phone numbers, email addresses. If you're out of the state or out of your home 6 months a year, give them a forwarding address so you get your mail. And I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Thanks, Ron.
Yep.
I had a question.
Yeah, Paul.
We had an appeals meeting, and one of the issues that came up was security cameras. And from the meeting, personally, I am confused as to what is and isn't permitted. I guess I would ask that you go to the covenants and ARC. I don't know if ARC is involved, and just to see that y'all are clear, because that you're the one that's determining whether or not it's a violation or not. Are you clear? And then if you are clear, what is and isn't approved, to maybe at the next appeal meeting or the next meeting, kind of explain this is what is and is not approved for security cameras.
I know I sat in on the last ARC meeting, and that issue came up with the little tiny camera that was up there in that one house on Celebration Avenue, I think it was. And there's 2 different styles. They're trying to. They're understanding that there are some security concerns with some people's homes, and I think it has to do more with the style anymore. I think they let that one go through.
I think it's also what the security people are telling people is that a security element is that the would-be robber sees the security camera. Right. So our policies are to make it hidden. So they come to us and say, wait a minute, it needs, our security installer is saying it's not going to work if it's hidden. They need to see the camera. So this, I think that seems to be the issue, but
Yep.
I don't want to take much time here, but if you could go, I just want to make sure that y'all are consistent, comfortable with what it is, and kind of explain to us what you think is approved and isn't approved.
We'll get with ARC and see if we can come up with some consensus of opinion on that.
Okay, thank you. Michael, did you just want to say anything regarding that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, only because we have talked about that on countless times, and the bottom line is they need to be underneath the roof overhang, even if it's going up on a gable or along. But when they're in the front porch visible from the road, it seems to be the consensus of the entire ARC committee that they need to be behind the outer beam, so you can't see them from the road. And most of the ones that we've had, they've been put up, like the gentleman before me said, without, ahead of coming to us with an application to put them there. The bottom line is, a lot of the reason that the security people put them right on the house wall instead of the outer beam is because it's easier when they're in the attic. It's easier than snaking the wire out to the end and getting it on the inside of the corner of the beam where it's not visible. So another concern with ARC was that when they put them up in the corner above the door, they're not only potentially missing a little part of the door, even though they have wide-angle lenses, but they are picking up the road, neighbors' properties, and things like that, and neighbors don't like that. So essentially, I think we've come up, and we will meet with covenants if they want, but I think what the general consensus is, I think a unanimous decision was that on the front of the house, it can't be seen by the road. Basically, that's it. So. And on the alleyways, we're a little more lenient than that. But anything in the center wall, down a wall, you know, on the siding all by itself in the middle of a wall, they're not in favor of that because it does look funny. So, but we do take directions from CROA. So if you want to have a joint meeting sometime or something, we could do that too. Okay.
I did some ideas about that. All right, special events.
Recapping, we had a very successful run of our events for Easter, beginning with the egg coloring on the 12th. New initiative we did this year called You've Been Egged on the 13th, and then the egg hunt on the 15th. Our mother-son outing is this Saturday. Did have a little hiccup with that. The team changed the game time on us last week. We reached out to everybody, and for the most part, everybody still wanted to go, so we confirmed all that, so the trip is still on for Saturday. Our next food truck Friday will be the 12th, and that'll be the first under the new contract with Kona Food Truck Luau's. Community Chorus concert is May 13th, 7 o'clock at Community Presbyterian. The Sharks swim team will be holding a Swim for Cause to benefit Special Olympics over at the Lakeside Pool on March 26th at 5 p.m. The Memorial Day flag ceremony will be the following day at 10 a.m. at Founders Park. And then on May 31st, we'll have our Aloha to Summer kickoff over at Lakeside from 5 to 8. We're going to be grilling hot dogs, Hawaiian shave ice. We have a DJ, and then we're going to cap off the evening. We're going to show Moana on the Great Lawn at 8:30.
Excellent.
And then registration is now open for Summer Breakout. You can register online, celebrationparksandrec.com, and the July 4th parade apps are also available.
And I will say, if you haven't been to Food Truck Friday recently, Kona Dog is bringing, what, a minimum of 10 trucks?
There'll be 12.
12 trucks. So a lot more variety than we've had in previous years. Thanks, Sharon. All right, the Recreation Program Plan Task Force?
This is Recreation Committee now. It's morphed into a committee.
Okay.
We'll update that for the next agenda.
All right.
We had our first meeting in the beginning of April, and one of the key items right now that we're addressing is the renewal of the facility use agreement with the K-8 school. We put together some items that we'd like to address with the school board, and had our initial meeting. Vanessa as the chair and myself, we met with the principal at the K-8 school, and we had an initial discussion. It was a very good discussion about what their needs are, what their wants are. Can you hear me? A good discussion with the principal about their needs, and then some discussion from a recreation standpoint, what those needs look like for the usage of those facilities. So the next steps are, the principal has all the information. She has a copy of the old contract, or the existing contract, and some of the things that we're looking for in the new contract. And she's taking that back to the superintendent for the initial discussion. Then we're going to meet again and talk about the next steps in formalizing the agreement and bring it back to you all to approve. So we're working on that very heavily right now.
All right, thanks, Steve.
And then next month we'll be focusing on the RFP for the tennis program in Celebration. We are pretty much finalized with what we want that RFP to look like. We'll be sending it out, and then hopefully having the presentations in June.
Okay.
That's the update with the Recreation Committee.
All right, thank you. All right, Susan.
So, question on Recreation Task Force or a committee having served on that. Is one of the agenda items coming up, looking at the recommendations from the task force and outlining a schedule of activities of what's going to be addressed when? I remember one of them was within 6 months, certain number of program plans would be developed.
It's on the list of objectives for accomplishments, so it will be an agenda item coming up, yes.
But are you building like a year-long plan as what's going to be addressed when?
Well, like I said, the objective for that Recreation Committee is to do just that.
Oh, is to do that, okay.
Yeah, so that will be one of the items that we'll be talking about.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? Okay. Susan, have a financial report.
So in light of the fact that we don't have a whole lot of time, I'm going to briefly give you an overview, Everything is in your report, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. As of March 31st, we have $2.7 million in operating cash, approximately. In our reserve fund cash, we have $3.6 million. And our capital improvement income, which goes towards our amenities that we're building, year-to-date, we have $246,000 in revenue.
That's today. What's the whole fund worth?
It's one, I can tell you, just 1 second. Let me look at the financials.
Just with the cash, that we also have short-term liabilities of over $1 million. So
Right.
Cash,
Yes,
operating cash
absolutely.
is-
That's just our cash position as of right now. In that particular fund, let me get to the reserves, we have $1.6 million.
And that includes the 240,000.
That includes the $240,000. We also spent $265,000 on the final payment for the dog park, or pretty much the final payment.
There's one more $5,000 payment, I believe, that finishes that contract. But we also have a contribution of $84,091 from March that will be going into it. That's not reflected on the financial statements yet.
Right,
It's
right.
always, that's always a month behind.
Okay, very good. All right, management report is in our books, and I don't know, Steve, if you want to address anything at all in the management report?
The one item I did want to pull and discuss with you all tonight was the county streets and parking, the petition. We wanted to look for some direction from the CROA board. Currently, I believe this was last week when I checked, 1,083 supporters had signed the petition. We wanted to see if we want to set a deadline, if we want to do one last push to another Friday Flash and then set a deadline, and then that way we can pull the petition and send it over to the county.
Yes.
Let's go another week.
Yeah, when's the meeting for the county commissioner? We need to be out with that.
I don't believe there's a county commissioner meeting that has this particular item on the agenda. I don't think any more action's been taken from the county with this. I know there was an initial push for people to email county commissioners, email county manager, and the most recent response we received from them was that they would not be addressing this in the near future. And I believe they even said that the development district had final authority over the parking on the streets. So no new action has been taken at this point in time.
And I know Floyd has asked for a copy of that directive that says that CDD has final action on the streets, but we have yet to receive that. For those of you who are not aware of this, this issue has to do with Deputy McAvoy, the fire chief, that came into Celebration and said, you guys shouldn't have any more parking on the streets except for Celebration Avenue, Celebration Boulevard. So if you're not on those particular streets, that means you can't have visitors in your house. So not a good deal, so I strongly urge that you sign that petition online, the cell service.
So we can leave the petition through May 5th and then put together the email or the letter to the county with the petition results after that.
How about 2 more Friday flashes, just in case someone skips one? So this Friday is the last Friday of
Give it top
April.
billing.
And then we have May the 5th?
That's May 5th. Yes.
May 5th? And so then, so we'll send it on by the 10th or the 15th?
So if
That's
we
what I
can-
would propose.
if we-
2 more Friday flashes.
If we send the last one on the 5th, then we want to assign a deadline. So if we want to make the deadline the following Monday, then if we do it 10th, that's the next Wednesday. We could set the deadline as the 10th.
Yeah.
I will say both CROA and CDD have sent letters to the county commission regarding this.
So then this would just be the petition with lots of signatures.
Lots of signatures, yeah. All right, Steve, that it?
That is everything unless there are any additional questions.
The only piece that I wanted to add is I know I just got a message from someone stating that we're flying through things this evening. As a reminder, all of this was posted in advance online in a non-password protected area located in the notices section of our website with the board book agenda, so you can access all this information if you want to see any of the details.
Except for our legal.
Except for legal details, correct.
And just to add real quick on the petition, you don't have to be a homeowner, whether you rent, you live outside the county, wherever you are, if you work here from outside the county, or I'm sorry, within Osceola County, and you're a registered voter, you're welcome to sign.
Can that be stressed in the 2 Friday flashes?
Some people think they have to be
Just Debbie
homeowners.
just said.
Yeah,
I think that's an important point. So it's not just homeowners.
yeah, it's anyone that lives in the county, any age.
It's a very good point.
All right, we are now to Comcast. Mr. Ferry.
Thank you. My name is Bill Ferry. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Comcast Cable. Also with me is Wade Matthews, who is the project manager for this project here in Celebration. I also have a couple folks from my construction department here, Rodney Hand and Danny Ferguson. I was asked to give a brief update on where we are. And again, we are on track. We are completing a state-of-the-art system here for Celebration. This will be a fiber-to-the-home system. What we are putting in will be just as good as or better than you would see in any other city such as San Francisco or New York, and we are on track. There are a few things I have to update you on, and it has to do with the work that we're doing. We are digging, as folks will know, and we also, Comcast recognizes the obligation we have to restore any of the land back to the way it should be. So we're very much aware of that, and I did want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. First of all, I have to tell you, we did have an incident that happened on the 19th.
You don't have to tell us that.
Got it. Got it. So on the 19th, right. So on the 19th, there was a water break on Arbor Circle, I believe, right? So anyway, I first of all, I want to apologize to anyone who is impacted by that. And again, I know my comments are directed to you, but I also give that to everyone. We did properly use line locates, call before you dig. However, there were some things that just were not properly marked. But anyway, I do want to tell you what we're doing to make sure that doesn't happen again. We're bringing in some special equipment. It is basically land radar penetrating machine that we will do. It's state of the art. It's something that can tell if there's a water main there. Our technical folks are excited about using it. It's an extremely expensive machine. It's something that we're going to cover. So I don't expect that to happen again. A couple other things on restoration is when we dig, sometimes we will, we're going to touch the grass, and if the grass is dying, our obligation, we know, is to replace that. There are some brown spots in the community. I was out looking at some of the places, and also Wade is being very diligent at taking any comments from any of the folks who are impacted by that. So we are replacing that. We are behind right now in Georgia grass. It seems to be a little bit hard. They're growing it. They don't seem to be cutting it. So I will say we're working on that. If someone does have a line on that, let us know, because we'll see about ordering that. But that is another thing that we are taking care of. Wade is being very careful. I'm going to ask Wade to leave a card here. He has one card.
I've got one left. I've been giving all my cards.
Someone wants that.
Could you actually just give us Wade's phone number so it goes out through the community?
We can do that. The other thing is, I might suggest, why don't you leave your card over here, and if folks have a phone, you can take a picture of it. So he is the point of person if you have an issue. A couple more things on restoration is there are some drops that have been cut. A drop is the line that goes from the fiber out in the street that goes to the home. So there's other providers here that are providing you service. Some of those drops, that line that goes in your yard up to the house, have been cut. And that'll happen if they're buried too shallow. So what we're doing is normally we will tell that provider, hey, we cut you, okay? And they're supposed to go out and fix that. Typically, telecom companies do not like to touch each other's plant. That's kind of a no-no. However, in our opinion, we think that the response time is a little slow on that. So we are taking the step of repairing other providers' lines right away. So we've had some of those, we've documented those. The goal that we have is to, when we do our work, we come in and we also stop early. We try to stop about 3 o'clock.
I've been having my crews shut down between 3:30, and try to get all the restoration pits filled back in by 5 o'clock is the goal, so we have less impact on the homeowners, especially with the alleys being as narrow as what they are, and that's the main way in and out.
Perfect. So again, our goal is if we cut a line, we fix it right away so the customer shouldn't see it. Also, if we see if we've done some damage or whatever, we repair it, or we get the sod in there. Also, we've noticed that we are in a drought, so we have hired a water truck to come in. We have a map of where we put our sod down, and so we're going around making the rounds and covering that. Have I missed anything?
Well, with the water truck too, what I've asked the guys on there to do, I've given them a print of, say, North Village. So as they're watering it, they're marking on there when they get to the point that they don't think the sod is going to live. So then we can come back, and if we replaced it once, we're going to be able to go back and replace it again. So this is, it's in addition to me and Knight's supervision that's out there, it's an extra set of eyes just to help make sure that we don't miss anything.
Okay. Please.
Well, I have a question. The residents at 600 Golf Park, the incident occurred on the 19th, and today's the 26th. They still have not had any communication from Comcast. Could you just be sure to reach out to the residents and let them know what's going on with the road that's caved in and their yard?
We can do that. We are not the entity that's fixing that. That is
I
our
understand
responsibility.
that,
But yes, I'm happy to do that for you.
I understand that, but just from a PR standpoint, because
Mm-hmm.
you all were on their project, again, I'm not going to say whether it was ECDD or CDD or you guys, but if someone could reach out and let them know what's going on with that.
We'll do that.
And also, there's a lot of equipment that's been left on the area, which is actually CDD grass, but our homeowners holds us responsible for that grass. So when that's sitting there, and if it was to die underneath, that resident also is going to need to replace that. So since the road's closed down, if they could just move that to an area that's
We'll
safe.
pass it along.
Yeah.
We'll pass it along.
Because that equipment would.
And the last thing is the section of sidewalk they placed in her yard. I'm not sure.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I went out there today.
Yeah,
I saw it,
so
yes.
Yeah, I went by and talked to her today, and I've talked to her a couple times, but thank you. If you could just personally make sure someone reaches out to that resident, and if you need the address or phone number, Steve has it right here.
Yeah, I know where it
Thank you
is.
so much.
Okay, thank you.
And at the CDD meeting, they mentioned possibility of shutting alleyways down while you're going down them at all. Do you have any plans to do that or not?
I don't know.
No. So what we're trying to do is we've got a 4-foot area outside the pavement
Yes.
after the alley that we're working within. So I've asked the crews, try to straddle that, so homeowners can still get by. Don't pull your pipe out ahead of time. Wait till you have your pits open and then you pull it through. Because they were used to doing it, try to get everything out and then put it in. We're asking them to do it one step at a time, so that way you don't have a lot of stuff in homeowners' ways.
I
We don't plan
appreciate
on blocking
that.
any kind of
I'm
alleys.
sure the homeowners will appreciate that
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
And wait, I'm sorry, one last question. I noticed too the boxes that were being placed, the previous boxes we had were set back further. They're almost at the edge of the alley, so cars backing up, the backup lights, cameras don't even hit it, so I'm not sure, why are they close to
Well,
so close to
we
the
have
alley?
the 4-foot to work within. So what Brian Smith had educated me on before we started getting into some of these areas was Smart City, the power company, had notch-out agreements so they can dip back in farther. And in some areas, they actually have additional easement past, say, the sidewalk or past that 4-foot in the alleys and stuff, to where what we're granted through the CCDD was just that 4 feet. So.
But it's right, I mean, like, the road is here and your box is right at it. You can't go back any further?
If you've got addresses and stuff like that, I'd be happy to look at them.
Well, one of them would be the Arbor Circle alley that's in question.
Yeah, I'll be happy to look at any of them and see what we
Yeah,
can
and the one
adjust
that's
we can do.
marked on the Iris Street alley is the same. It's right, it hasn't been put in yet, but if we
Yeah.
can catch it before it goes
Yeah.
in, it's Iris and Golf Park. So it's the alley right behind Golf Park, on the alley that's Golf Park and
Okay.
Iris.
All right.
There's only 3 houses there, so you'll see it.
One addition to add, these gentlemen are talking about construction, but there's also the communication and marketing side to this. We do have a customer's account representative that's part of the contract, and that's Jennifer Kutchman. She will actually be coming out tomorrow morning to meet with JR and I. We're going to be talking about, well, first, so she's going to have once a month where she'll be here, stationed at the building, where residents can come and ask questions. But we're also going to start talking about some display of the product. And one of those is an event where they bring a giant truck in, where residents can go inside and they can see the different services that will be provided over this new fiber line. We're also looking at a kiosk in Town Hall, temporarily set up so that residents can come and get more information. So as folks start buying the services, the X1 product, we'll have that customer account representative here to go provide more information.
Is she able to troubleshoot some of these issues that we're talking about tonight?
She probably will, yeah. She'll take that information. We're a very close-knit organization. We send information quick.
Probably need to probably have her start coming to board meetings.
She could not make it tonight. She has a flat tire. She promised me, but she couldn't make it. I apologize. Yes, no, I'll make sure she knows.
So with those boxes that Debbie's talking about, it's my understanding from a CDD meeting, they were all going to be painted Celebration Green? Is that fair?
I worked with them. We explained we have no objection if the CCDD wants to paint them.
So CDD would be painting.
They're going to be paying them, yes.
And some are already leaning, I've noticed.
That I don't know
Some
about.
have already been painted in Northville. But you had said if you painted them, that it would affect the wiring or the performance. Is that not true?
We have concerns about it, but
I mean, I just don't want to come back later and say, well, gosh, if it didn't, I mean, is there a way to find that? 'Cause you do have dark green boxes that you have, but you weren't able to get those in.
yeah, it's very back ordered. So, but I'm convinced that the job they will do is a professional one. I see the work that they do, and I'm impressed. So I think my explanation to them is I have no objection if that's what you're going to do, just as long as the other providers are also painted in the same way.
Isn't that the way the permit is described, as you all have given them the ability to do that if they'd like to?
Is that not also in the scope of work?
No.
No,
there's no requirements for color in the scope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make a comment that we have gotten a ton of comments, negative, and a lot of the comments are, you know, a couple years ago, Smart City went through, did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like seamless. And I know my alley is one of the toughest alleys in Celebration between Long Meadow and Campus. It's huge long. And whenever construction happens, it's, you know, I worry about it. When they did it, it was, and, you know, it was, you know, we were friends, everybody was, you know, how you doing? Everybody, it was like, you know, it was like family.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting now is that it's like night and day, that the difference between Comcast and Smart City in terms of installation, how they, how they treat people's property, how they'll go on people's property, they'll ask and say, listen, you know, I can't even hardly get out of my alley, you know, what's going on? And they move it and then they move it back.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just saying all the comments I'm getting, and I don't know, I think
Feel free, if you do have specifics, let me know. But like I say, anytime you do an upgrade like this, a rebuild, if you will, there is digging involved, and there are things that move around. But
what Smart City did.
It's a different system. It is a different system. I really can't comment on how a competitor does or do things. It is a different technology, but you know, if there are specifics, by all means, let me know. Okay, so we'll look for them, but just get them to us, and we'll follow up with them.
Bill, just one last question.
You think that y'all have, you feel like you've done a good job in that the residents in Celebration are happy with how you've gone about this process?
Well, I think we're doing the best we can and what we're supposed to do. Yeah, I mean, yes.
I will say that it's been done in my yard already. The grass is fine. They restored 2 sprinklers, and anything else is fine.
Okay.
I guess not on good on Gary's yard,
Well,
but Mike's yard was
Gary,
good, so, you know, it makes things.
All right.
Bill, I'm sorry, one last question, I'll let you go. Because you guys do have the ability to get the green boxes rather than painting them, and I know some have already been painting, rather than painting and have to repainting in X amount of years, are there any you can order for the tail end of your project? Are there any that can be obtained?
Yeah, it's really kind of hard to say. I mean, if I can make that happen, I'll look into it, but I really don't think it's something that's going to be able to happen, to be honest. I think we're going to probably have to stay with the scheme that he did, and to be honest, if you're going to paint some and then put some in that are different, I would probably stay with one scheme.
I mean, since we're painting them anyway on the tail end of the project or in a separate village, could you look into getting some? Could you just
We've already looked into it, and I just can't give you that hope on that one. Yeah, they're really not available.
Then say no,
I'm
you
sorry.
can't.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd just be a little more direct to you. Okay. All right.
Along the lines of Paul's question, I would like to encourage residents, if they have restoration issues, we're going to post, we have 2 of the night representatives, the subcontractor that's doing the construction, we have their emails posted in Friday Flash. We're going to post Wade's also.
Yeah.
You can also email me, and I directly forward it to them, and I usually include the homeowner. And if I don't hear back from Comcast, I'll send them a reminder and say, what are you doing with this? We need to get back to this homeowner. So I would encourage you to submit those to us. I have a handful of them. I probably have 6, 7 of them altogether that they're working on. And I think Wade can attest to that. Not all of them have gone right, and he's committing to coming back and doing them again. And it's very frustrating for homeowners to have it done 5, 6, 7 times, But from what I've seen from him so far, Wade's committed to continue doing what needs to be done to make it right. So until
Let
that
me
changes.
just clarify, it's not just restoration, it's how they are managing the equipment when they're in the alley, how they're getting to people's property, things like that. So it's not a restoration issue. A lot of it is that, you're not treating my property correctly. I'm having trouble even getting out of my alleyway. Again, just the difference in that and how, that was never an issue with the previous ones.
Okay, well, thank you for that feedback. I'll follow up to where I can.
All right.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. I want to say you guys have a lovely community. You should be proud of it, and we're going to make sure that it's lovely when we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to action items then. First one, tab 1, is the Georgetown Condominium Association mediation update. I've got your stuff. I think I've got your stuff here.
No, there's a new one.
Even more?
Thanks. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go back here, but normally as part of the management report or somewhere on here, we do have a conversation from Davy, and I saw their truck outside. So did they take off, or?
No, they are here, and you're correct. We didn't, if there were any questions for Davey, they are here.
Okay. I have a question for Davy. So can we do that after? I want to be cognizant of he wants to go home.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's get Annika.
So let's get Georgetown done, and then we'll
Thank you.
go back. Okay.
Okay, good evening, guys. We've given you where we stand for the end of April. You can see it. Some of these, I know Susanna gave you her report through probably for your workshop yesterday, so just to give you a little bit of an update to where we are on that. Building 6, we still got it there as pending. We're just missing some. We had to go back to Albert. There were some issues over the bed size and whether we could do some Hawthorne or whatever. So we're going back and forth with Albert a little bit there just to get clarification. And we have some more annuals that need to go around one of the crepe myrtles in front of the building. Other than that, the building would then be considered, would have Susanna back to come close it out for us. Building 8, we're missing a trellis. Dennis got sidetracked to another project that he had to do. He'll circle around. That should be up and ready tomorrow with the jasmine planted to grow up. Building 10, we do have a stump there. We wait for the guy to come round till we've got 3 or 4. So we'll have the stump grind guy out probably within the next week or so, and then that one will be ready to be closed out as well. We have, again, with ARC, 13 and 14 have been submitted to ARC. 26 has been approved, but it's on a hold. Susanna said it was on a hold. Something to do with in ARC itself. We're talking to Albert about some of the trees. So we're just waiting to hear back from them as to where we go with that. The next buildings that we're expecting to put through will be 12 and then 17 through 19. So that brings us down Longview and the starting onto, again, the corner there of Celebration. 27, obviously we still got plenty of work to do there. Really self-explanatory there. It's got an addition, we're expecting an additional 2 to 3 weeks on completion on that one, and that's before we start factoring in the potential drought and water restrictions that we're going to face there. You've got, I sent you through, just to backtrack on the drought, I sent through to Steve just because I was doing it quick before I forgot and I didn't have everyone's email, so I hope you sent it through to the rest of the board. So you have that on what we got from them. We'll touch base with Tahoe again next week and find out what their position is, where they're forecasting, what they're expecting to go forward. I also shared that information with you for your own service areas, so that you can also formulate plans to kind of what's going on and how we move forward with it. The second page is what I spoke about on Thursday when we met you all at North Village, was what our plan was in the event that we do come under the drought restrictions that we're expecting from Tahoe and the reduction in pressure. So our alternate plan to continue with it is that we will then carry on with the tree removal, and we've listed the buildings that we'll do that on. Where trellis work is required, we'll put that up. If there isn't trellis required in front of the ACs, we will plant whatever plants have been approved by ARC under Albert's supervision and suggestions. We will plant those in, and then we can go and organize that we hand water them with the hose pipes, what have you. But just so that if we're left, one, we don't want to leave a building kind of half done, but even if we are in that situation, at least the ACs, because they don't look nice, they're an eyesore to everybody, so that at least it shows it. And the same that we will replace where the trees need to be replaced, we'll do that, we'll do the drains, we'll get everything ready so that as soon as that wonderful rain comes in, we will kick in and get the plants in. So that's where we are at that stage. I would think it might be an idea after our next board meeting, which is 18th of May, because we seem to run a week ahead of you, that perhaps once we've had that we then try, and perhaps depending on how the drought is, that the two boards meet, and we then see how we go forward. But this is our plan to take us through pretty much to that board meeting and a little bit before.
Yeah, thank you for this. I think, to me personally, and I can't speak for the balance of the board, but I'll be quite candid with you. If you came to me today and asked for an extension, I would say yes. For two main reasons. Number one is every single time I take my son over to the playground in North Village, there's someone out doing something in the dirt. There's someone out constantly doing something. The other piece that I would also say, and I can't speak for ARC or covenants or anything, but I would rather see an ugly air conditioner and dirt rather than a dead, dry plant.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I would hate to see something put in that then has to be replaced just on an account of us trying to rush something. And I think that everyone understands, my parents are in town this week, and they came in and they saw what was going on, and they asked what was happening, and they said, oh, they're getting, to refresh everything, and they see everything new. So I think when people see something like that with construction, they understand that we're refreshing it, and it's not that, oh, something happened over here and it's all bad, but if we come in and there's a bunch of landscaping,
we don't want it dead. You don't want it, and that's what we're going to try. So we're working at it, and it's going to be a kind of a day by day / week by week as we go, and just pray for rain. Touting the idea of getting all the homeowners out next full moon and try to do a rain dance or something.
Sounds like something for Park and Rec, JR, if you want to research a rain dance of some kind.
The rain dance, because that would really help.
Annika, I got to say that I'm very impressed because the scope of your work has gone far beyond what initially was requested. I know you've been putting in French drains coming from the one building 27 recently, and I applaud that. You've done a great job, and it's the best that Georgetown has looked.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm sure we can probably be able to work with.
Just to follow up, thank you so much, Annika. You've done a great job communicating. Your board's been great. And Todd, I hope you have more time to heal with all this.
Yeah, your arm's free.
He's getting there. He's out the sun.
That's as far as you can go, right?
Thank you.
Annika?
Thank you for letting us know.
I heard you mention Albert and getting things approved. Are you getting things improved timely through him, do you believe?
We are. Yeah, we are. They are coming. I think they've got a little question over whether we're putting crepe myrtles or juniper spartans, and there was just something there within the thing. So we're just waiting for them to come. But to be honest, it's not holding us up by them having their little discussion.
And my follow-up question is, do you pretty much have the rest of your plan available? In other words, where you could go ahead and get it pre-approved.
That's the plan. Even drought or whatever, we just keep going. They'll keep going through with the plans.
Even if you're not putting it in tomorrow.
Yes.
You
that continues.
These plants near this building or whatever.
Yes. The next due, as I said in my little report there, the plans due to go through will be 12, and then 17 through 19 are the next ones to be submitted through to ARC.
And I asked that because we had approved Albert to do a walkthrough at another condo project.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a walkthrough with them and gave them all the notes in one day pretty much. And so most everything was approved more or less.
It was. It's just ours. It kind of gets more technical, and because we've got a lot of trees that need to come out and roots and this sort of thing, so we like to just do it in little lumps as we're going along. We're finding that works better for us to what's going. But the ARC are being really good about approving, really quickly as well. So they haven't held us up at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, thanks very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Let's deal with Davy Tree now.
Yeah. Can we jump back to Davy real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, you're yeah.
Everybody left.
I know.
Hello, Steve.
Annika, you took everybody with you.
I didn't run out on you, Eric.
No, I knew you didn't.
But truthfully, I'll just open up by saying I really appreciate all your comments and everything you're putting online, because it does help keep me straight, keep me going where I'm at, and so I always appreciate any of that feedback that we're there.
I promise to always be a pain in the ass.
Oh, I don't look at it that way, truthfully. I don't. When I first got here, I wasn't sure, but now I know you really do care,
All right.
and so I really appreciate it, okay? So don't ever feel that. Okay, did you have specific questions, or would you like me to go ahead and go through some things?
No, I think the thing for us is that there just were some items that I know we're looking at farming out to an outside contractor now because of the delay that we just haven't been able to get resolved through Davy. So I think that we just want to make sure that we need to minimize that as much as we can. And I know that it's been hard with the lack of rain and that sort of thing, and things are delayed. But I think on the flip side of that, to me, I know I haven't had to mow my grass in like 2 weeks now, even with irrigation, and it looks okay. I have Zoysia that's available at Lowe's. I should probably tell Comcast. But I think that if we're reducing some of those things that need to be done, I would hope that we could devote some manpower to some of the other pieces as well. And, just making sure that, the community looked really, really good, and there's just a few little areas that we're starting to slip. And I just want to make sure that we're not on a downhill slope sliding back down there.
I think
this is a good test for irrigation systems.
Yeah.
You see it in the yards where you've got patches that are 6 feet wide.
You mean the arc in the yard?
The rest of the grass is green, so I got a problem with that head over there, That's kind of the things you probably need to be really, really working on.
Well, turf has been really our main focus. I mean, of everything happens, we have made sure that we've been on top of it as much as you can be, even to the point that myself and Joe Kelly, the guy with Signature Sod, for the last 2 weeks have kind of every other night switched off. We've been out there between 1 and 5 in the morning, making sure the irrigation is actually running, because what I didn't anticipate happened was that due to all the use and everything like that some of the pressure was so minimal that even though it was showing that it's running, it wasn't actually running.
Sure.
And so now we've got that all resolved. We figured out what that was, and we have a new plan in place for that.
The thing is make sure all your heads are up, all your heads are working.
Absolutely.
I think the K-8 facilities are probably the best example of seeing where irrigation is working. And there are numerous areas on that open space for that. There's just no irrigation there. So the irrigated areas are green and everything else is brown and dying.
This would be a good lesson for you to say, ooh, maybe we should put a head over there.
Well, that's what's happening, because when you get to this way, everything gets a cumulative effect, and you do find out, hey, that I need to change a different type of head there even.
Heads over or a different type of head.
Exactly. That is happening quite significantly now. And so we're trying that. We aerated the Bermuda. We have tried everything we can, just like people were talking about earlier about the fertilization and that type of stuff. We've actually been to the point that by different sites alone, we've been making adjustments, because depending on how dry that site is or whatever, we've had to switch up the product we're using during that day, so you don't get burnt grass and things to that nature. So it does take a little time and stuff to get that done, but that doesn't mean we're not close. I think we're at the bottom of where we would ever slide to. Okay, and ready to go back up. And so take
this was
responsibility.
My morning. That was it. This was the morning meeting. And
That's no problem.
And then we'll see where we're at.
I think with the situation with the water, you've done a great job. It looks really nice in the community.
Rick, can you comment about the space that you're using over near the dog park in your plans for?
Sure, absolutely. We're in the process of getting everything we have out of that yard over there. We have a plan to make sure that we're out by the end of this week, and then come back in Monday and basically try to clean anything up that we need to clean up. I was able to secure a place to put a dumpster over in the storage area we're at. So they're putting that dumpster there on Monday. So like on Monday or Tuesday, I'll be able to have the dumpster out. They picked up all the trash, all the trailers, anything else will all be gone. So I'm hoping Monday, Tuesday at the latest when they clean it up, that we will never be back there. So that'll be a good thing.
Sounds good.
Thanks very much, Rick.
The only thing I also wanted to touch base on is I didn't get an opportunity to put in your package the results of the soil samples, and they were significant this time, based on all the drought and different things that were happening. We have a lot of issues where we need to put down sulfur to take care of the pH, and we even had some big cases where there's salt intrusion. That's because all the wells are getting dry, and now they're pumping everything that's there and everything it's in. And Heritage Hall is just amazing, the salt content that's in some of that stuff there. So I have all that. I'll make sure that I get a copy emailed to you guys. I just got it yesterday and reviewed with the sod and the fertilization guy today. And based on this, we're going to take a few more in certain other areas. I know you mentioned one of the other sod areas that I wanted to make sure we do that same thing there, because this has, the last few times it hasn't meant anything.
Sure. Yeah.
But this time, it really shows us something we can get done. So.
Rick, do you know any places you can get a soil test kit for a homeowner?
Where can you get it?
The Extension Services
The Extension
office
Services office will do it. No, there's a charge.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, but it's minimal. It's really
minimal.
It's silly easy. So I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks or something like that, and you send it off. You can put it in a brown paper bag. You FedEx it to them, and then they give you this. They email you a report within like a day or two. It's pretty fast. They say it takes 2 weeks, but I've always usually had it happen like 72 hours.
I need to get that address.
I believe you can also take a sample in with you, and if they have a horticulturist there, they'll look at it right there with you. They'll look at for chinch bugs and those types of things.
Yeah, you got the Central Florida Soil Laboratory, which is in Bartow. That's the one. If you need the address and the number, I've got it right. Matter of fact, I'll email this tomorrow, and you guys can have the address and stuff right here.
University of Florida has one also.
Yeah. You get this big report that I don't understand half of it, but I know what the numbers mean, so that's not it.
We're laughing, we're like, how does Eric know this stuff?
You know-
Do you sleep, or how do you do this stuff?
Yeah, he has no idea.
He has no
He has a
life.
1-year-old. He's up all the
Rick,
time.
thanks for your report.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, sorry.
Back to the action items.
Yep.
All right, tab 2, the motion to confirm the removal of 4 live oaks from the 851 building courtyard as
They're gone.
identified in the scope of work on action item number 10 of the March board meeting.
Motion to approve.
And a second, please.
Second.
And
Any discussion?
the reason we're doing this is it got left off of the motion. It was on it, but it got left off the verbal motion.
Okay. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, tab 3, the discussion on live streaming and filming of the CROA board workshops.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, there's been several thoughts about doing this. Okay, we've talked about continuing live streaming for the board meetings. Talked about not live streaming the workshops. I'll leave it to you guys to tell me what you would like to do. My proposal is.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. I don't think we should be recording the workshops, and the reason why is that it inhibits the board from kibitzing for fear that it's going to be on the TV and maybe I say something that's stupid, which I usually do, and Eric will correct me, and there's a lot of give and take and a lot of informal discussions that go on, which that's the purpose of the workshop. I think that it would allow us to be more free thinking in solving issues and a lot of back and forth conversation with each other, and I think the camera inhibits that. I really do.
David?
I would think that we have 2 broad decisions. The first one is about board meetings, and maybe we can put that to rest. Live stream, done. Okay. If that's, then the other decision is about workshops. And while I agree with you, and I sat where you sat a month ago, I believe that they should be taped for public viewing. So I would argue for taping the workshops. The question then for me is, should that be live or should it be delayed? And where I come down now, honoring what you've just said, is that be delayed for X period of time, 24 hours or 48 hours. A sub-proposal would be, should there be something that upon reflection, pretty quickly, within 24 hours, that you then could redact that or just go blank, and say that part doesn't get live streamed, because I'm embarrassed, I, Tim, or I, David, am embarrassed by what I said, and now I would like to have that not included, then within 48, whatever period of time, within X period of time, that then be publicly available. So it would, to me, meet public transparency. It may not be right at that same time, but it's out there, but it also lets us be more freewheeling. And says, okay, I can say something, because I can go back in within 24 hours and say to management person, at minute 22:30 to 23:30, Tim, want my stuff removed. And only Tim can remove Tim. And it's, a vote of one. So that would be my confusing proposal. No, but the other option is live stream. But I do support putting it out there.
Okay.
And I may be embarrassed after the fact.
Paul?
I think I'm in line with Dave that, I'm not, live streaming, to me, as long as the record is there, that is the most important thing for me. I'm not hung up one way or the other on live streaming. I think we need to conduct ourselves in our meetings, in all our meetings, in a proper way. And, I'll be honest with you, I say what I feel, and I embarrass myself in these meetings. I embarrass myself in the workshop. I try and conduct myself well, but, it's part of the territory is that you're going to say something stupid every once in a while, and we shouldn't, but we should be trying to conduct ourselves in the proper way, handling a meeting. And, I don't know what kibitzing means. I don't know what, it sounds like we're making kind of jokes that we shouldn't be, and we're embarrassed it's out there when we shouldn't be making those jokes then. But I'm absolutely, we should not go backwards here, is that, like Mike said, Florida is known for its sunshine law. It's government in the open, and they feel very strongly about it. I'm proud of Florida for doing that, and I would hate to see us go backwards. Send a terrible message to our residents. So I guess where Dave is, as long as we have full recordings of our meetings, I'm happy with that. Live streaming, I could go ahead and that.
My issue isn't on the recording that we would embarrass ourselves, because I think we've all done that at some point in our life. Mine is that they are taken out of context on so many occasions, where it'll take a snippet of a recording, some part of your conversation, and the conversation may go, as you can see, 20, 30 minutes. And once we've had a discussion, sometimes, many times, we do come to an agreement or compromise or change our mind. So that is my issue with the discussion on the workshops. As Tim says, I want to be more open, more free. I'm happy compromising on something that Dave has suggested, but on the workshops, we go over a lot of stuff. We also go over some stuff that's very personal and private to certain residents, which is concerning, but mainly it's the things that are taken out of context when they take a portion of it. And part of the things with the workshops is if you look at the entire set of minutes that are presented, which I've never seen anyone take just a line from the minutes, they just attach the full minutes, it becomes clearer what the intention of the board was. So that's my issue.
Okay. Eric?
I guess the piece that concerns me is where this all came from and why this is being discussed. And why this is being discussed, and in my opinion, is because a resident came up during the public comment period and called each one of us out individually on something that we said previously at a meeting. And that made people uncomfortable. Doesn't make me uncomfortable. And am I frustrated if they take something out of context? Absolutely. It's also not the first time that it's happened, with anything. It'll happen with audio recording, it'll happen with a written record, it'll happen with if someone's recording it or whatever. It's frustrating, and it's just kind of where we're at. I think that the duty that we have in making sure that we're maintaining things in an open and transparent manner needs to be restricted to the residents, as I've said. Mainly the reason why we are currently on the streaming platform that we are, as well as the recording platform we are, we're twofold. One was cost, and the second was labor. Going back and editing a piece of video, where one of the reasons why we started doing this in the first place was because it took time to to edit or be able to re-encode the recording and get it posted online. It just took time to do it. The advantage of kind of what we do now is that it's being streamed and it's being recorded at the same time, so it's just done at the end of that. The disadvantage, though, is that we don't have the ability to restrict where that is. I know that, there are people that there are things that are discussed that technically it is only, homeowners. Technically, this meeting is supposed to be only folks that the board invites in and homeowners in the community. So I do support us moving to something that would be behind, access, because yes, the access on the website today is behind a password, but anyone that goes onto YouTube right now can see all the recordings without putting in any sort of a password at all. They're all just floating there. So I don't want us to go backwards. I think everyone kind of understands where my position is on this. I think that in my opinion, we should be, I would love to see the day where every single one of our meetings or workshops is recorded. Not only board meetings and workshops, but also things like ARC and covenants. Even if it's just, put there for the record, because there are so many times, even as a board member, when I go in and I say, gee, during this appeals process, I would really love to know what was said during that meeting, just so that we can kind of understand what's going on. But once again, there's a labor and time piece that goes into that that we would need to consider. So I'm kind of in support of keeping it kind of the status quo of where we are.
Leonard?
With the exception of what Eric said about on YouTube, if you specifically search for it, you can find it. But hidden the way you're talking about, you have to actually put in celebration meetings or celebration workshops to find it. Versus the way it has been before is you can just go on our front porch. Anyone from anywhere around the U.S. could go on the front porch and find it. Now they have to go on YouTube and specifically look for it. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay. So with the exception of what he said there, I agree with everything Eric just said.
So your position is what?
What was his position?
He doesn't have to change anything with his position.
That is actually my position.
Okay.
So live stream workshops?
So I think the only piece that I will, this is an example of a time where I'm going to go back and clarify or restate something that I said previously, which is I'm okay with where we are at now with the intention that we ensure that we upgrade our streaming services, if we continue with live streaming, for the ability to make sure that we can password protect those, which does require a paid service of some kind for us to do.
And I believe I talked to you email-wise,
Yep.
and you said it's like $45 per month.
Yeah, so there's
that.
a couple different streaming providers that are out there ranging in services. We are relatively basic from a need. Currently, there are 5 people watching the stream, right now, so we don't have a significant amount of bandwidth that gets eaten up there with that. So it's, a total of around $588 for the year for us to be able to subscribe to an extremely basic service for us to do, which our current hardware already supports. So there's really no, there's some time and setup, but really that's the cost that's associated with it. So that would be the caveat that I would say, that I want to keep what we're recording the same and streaming it. I would just change the placement of where we're putting those recordings in the stream.
Okay.
Is that a motion? Is that better?
All right, so my position was, I don't want this going out to the world on YouTube, okay? And that's why I went to you and asked if we do that. The $500 some odd is a reasonable price. It allows for us to stream up to 10 hours per month, I believe.
Correct. Well, so the way that it works is that's 10 hours of streaming per month on average. So in other words, if someone sits and watches our entire board meeting, which if it lasts, with the exception of tonight, maybe 2 hours or so, that's like, that's your time. But we can always...
viewing?
Let me ask you a technical question. I'm a resident. I've got password availability to watch that, whatever it is. And now I take that and I go put it on YouTube.
Technically, it's a copyright violation.
What have we done?
Technically, it's a copyright violation.
Technically, it's a copyright violation. I will tell you that it would be extremely difficult for us ever to remove something like that. It just would be. No one's gonna listen to it.
Now, the services you talk to, do they preclude anybody from actually downloading the information?
So we're talking about two different things. So there's a streaming service, which is what actually goes out live. That's where the 10 hours comes in. So that's literally, if we had, I don't know, if we had a 10-hour meeting, that would eat up all of our hours, essentially, that we're talking about. That's not for playback. Playback is something completely different.
Okay.
So like an archival recording, or if I didn't watch the meeting live and I want to watch it tomorrow or something like that, that's something completely different. And we already have an existing hosting provider for that, that we've used for other things, or when the streaming doesn't work and we put something up later. So that service is already in place, that we can upload that stuff, and there are restrictions to that, but really very limited for what we need to do.
What about server capacity as far as?
We're not going to even come close to hitting anything.
If I may repeat what I think I heard him say. So for under $600, we can stream these out under password protection. We can also have them available on any additional day that would be behind our firewall, or not our firewall, behind our password off of the front porch that would connect through to it.
Well, those would be our files that we'd upload onto the computer, on the server.
Yeah.
It's not the streaming part.
Correct. Steve, if it's okay with you, Patrick, can I ask you to come up? Is it okay with you, Steve?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So the one thing, the caveat that I want to put in here in regards to the recording is, and make sure of an archival purpose, is there is now work that we're not doing today that we would need to be doing. So there is staff time implemented in us. Then I'm talking about uploading it to Vimeo after the fact, because obviously that's where we would place it. So I don't know if you can comment on kind of the time and stuff that it takes, because I know that does impact what you have to do.
Well, let's start with the Vimeo service. The current plan only allows for 5 gigabytes a month.
Yep.
Yes, a month worth of uploading. So if there are 2 meetings in a month, for example, the workshops and the meetings, if there are 2 meetings, that's pretty close to our 5 gigabytes. We're good. If there was a 3rd meeting for whatever reason, we would have an issue, and it would be delayed.
Right.
Other than that, the time involved runs over several hours. It's taking what typically a 3-hour meeting. It would take somewhat 3-4 hours to compile and render the videos together. And then once that's put together and on the side, I can then go to the site and upload it, which would depends on our speed of our internet. It would probably be about 30.
Hopefully we'll have fiber service in this building.
Well,
I know we do.
We
but
do.
I'm kind of making a joke here.
Yeah, it'll go another half hour or so, and then however long it takes for that website to render them. So
yeah, the only workflow change that is a little bit different with if we were to go with something like Wowza or something like that, is it would compile the videos for you, so you wouldn't have to re-encode it. So you'd be able just to download it directly from Wowza once the event is done. So like tomorrow, you could go online, hit the download button, and it just pulls down a full H.264 file for you that then you could spit back up to Vimeo. I know that's not, it still takes time to do that, so I don't want to dismiss that part. But hopefully that'll be a little bit easier.
Yeah, and it's not time literally spent in front of the computer,
Sure.
twiddling your fingers. It's you still have to watch it and make sure that it's doing what it's doing.
Sure.
All right, well, I see 2 issues here. The first would be a motion to approve the expenditure of money in order to be able to live stream behind the firewall, okay? And the second one is the decision of what we're going to do with the workshops, okay?
So the first one motion is a change. Putting live stream behind a firewall, which requires the software, that is a change in what we're doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
Just to be clear,
it's approval.
everything from this point forward would be behind a firewall.
It's an approval of Monday, too.
Understand.
Yeah.
But
Here, maybe I'll simplify this a little bit. I would like to make the motion. That we approve a cost not to exceed $600 for an annual subscription to Wowza Streaming Cloud for the purposes of live streaming services for the community that would be behind credentialed access, available only to residents within good standing in the community.
I will second that motion.
Okay, now, before we get into this, Rachel, do you have a copy down? Or in essence you have it? Okay, all right. Is there any discussion?
I have a question related to the motion. Is there a separate username and password that every resident's going to be required to receive, or just what they have now?
It's already what they have now.
If you got a resident has the ID and stuff, let them.
And before we do that expense, just a question, Eric, is there anything, once we do that and it's out there, that prevents someone from taping that and putting it on YouTube?
No.
Like you said, the copyright, okay, no. So I'm just wondering, do we want to
No, so there is a,
But I consider I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's more of a pain in the butt, really, is what it is. You know, no matter what you do, if you put something online, you should have the expectation that someone can pull it down. Even if it's as low-tech as me sitting there and recording it with my phone off the screen.
This is a live stream event. It's a one-time shot. If they don't get it then, they don't capture it. Okay. Now, next thing is the archive.
Right.
Okay, but before that,
Once it's
let's
archived,
vote on this
yeah.
motion then. So all in favor of the purchase?
I have a question, I just need to clarify. I heard the term good standing.
Yeah, I had said resident in good standing. Essentially, if
It's got to be resident in good standing. You shouldn't have access to the
It's because I consider it an amenity.
The same as the ID rules?
Yeah, same as the ID rules.
Suspension of amenities or?
So I'll amend the motion to clarify that, to state that if it's only residents that have access to the amenities within the community.
I will second his motion.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, the second. You oppose, okay. All right, so the second issue is the workshop, as far as streaming or delayed posting of it.
I'd like to make a motion as a compromise to what David suggested.
What was my compromise?
Yeah.
Or a compromise to what I?
No, your compromise.
So there were two parts to that, to what I suggested. A delay, and the intent was to, because I felt some of the same things, at least earlier, about it might, if it's live, then it might affect my willingness to speak more freely. If it was delayed, I'm okay. So one part is, do we want to delay? And second part is, if we do delay, should we allow a board member to choose within a very short period of time to remove his or her one or more segments that he or she said? So those are two separate questions. And what I would propose, to me, what's important is that we have a delay, that it not be live. So, I mean, I would start with wanting a delay, and if you don't like that board member able to take his or her thing out, to me, that's a further compromise. So that was, I don't know if that makes it clear.
Yeah, no, I think that, so to me, and I think that I look at the recording, a recording very differently probably than a lot of people look at it, mostly because I do look at it as the same thing as meeting minutes. So if I say something silly in this meeting, which I already have multiple times, I can't remove anything from the meeting minutes unless it's at the next meeting. And when we ask to vote or approve or deny those meeting minutes, that's when it's, changed.
That's fair.
So, because to me, I see it as, I can see where if we say something and having something, actually recorded, that's different than what's maybe in the written word. Obviously it's a little bit more official, as it is. And obviously our meeting minutes are different, in that they're not a word for word, transcription of what's going on. But I think in some cases, just going back historically, that was what residents were missing in a lot of cases.
The context.
The context of it, because they saw the meeting minutes. And, I mean, for those of you that remember when I was a pain in the butt as a resident sitting in the audience, I was sitting there typing away, and I was taking notes on all the color that happened throughout the meeting minutes, because if I saw the meeting minutes, all it said was approve, deny, approve, deny. And I think that's gotten a lot better, to Rachel's credit, that we do have some more color in the minutes now, which we used to not have. It used to just literally be yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So I think, we've taken a step in the right direction there. But I still see it as a a record.
And I agree with Eric that it needs to be pure.
That's fine.
Okay?
But then
The other issue is that we create an unsurmountable workload for
Could be.
Patrick in editing and putting this whole thing together at the last minute because of somebody redacting something.
So I'll jump and make a motion that within 24 hours of a workshop, that the full recording be posted behind password-protected, resident in good standing.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Just be real clean about it.
So not street.
So, 24 hours, is that adequate time to do this?
Well, that, 48 hours, I don't,
Right, if we're using the service, then it's...
So I think that we have two different, we have a question here, though. So are you stating that you would only want it for archival purposes and not streamed live?
correct.
Okay.
So just post it,
Why don't you
just let it
say
sit.
that something to the effect of posted within 3 business days or something?
That's fine.
That
That's
way,
fine. That's fine.
if we have a
It's
Friday...
posted in a timely
if we have-
manner.
If we have a Friday meeting...
Fine.
Or if there's an issue with the decompressing
Yeah.
or whatever it's
Things
doing.
have happened
No,
before.
I understand
where-
that. That way, if you Friday meeting, you don't have to come in on Saturday and do it.
I'll modify the motion
And I
in a
would
timely manner and within 3 working days.
Point of clarity, for archival only?
Correct.
Not for posting?
Archival is posting.
It is posted.
No, there's
Not
two
one.
different things.
Yeah.
So like, for instance,
Sorry.
right now, if it's, if it's archived, it's technically, if someone wants to see it, there needs to be a records request submitted. If it's posted, then it's just sitting online in order to be able for someone to see it.
But that
Yes.
Is that what you're
posting
saying?
is.
I mean posting. If I said archival, I'm sorry, that was a technical word I did not understand.
But that posting is technically working as an archival service also, right?
True,
We're not,
yes.
We're not
Yeah, that's
listing
what-
it here on our
No,
side.
no, it's going off somewhere else. But I think the, for example,
Accessible.
I'll give a good example. I can't go online right now and view the meeting minutes from 1999. They're not on there.
Correct.
Sorry, but they're not on there. But if I want to see them, I can submit a records request to Town Hall, and then they go dust off the box somewhere and try to find it, sort of thing.
My intent is easily, publicly, fairly quickly available. That's the intent.
My celebration resident.
By celebration, thank you.
So I've got a motion then.
Can I ask a question real quick? When it comes down to our daily practices, Eric hits the lottery and moves over to California for some reason. You no longer have access to the amenities. That password that was issued to you is now changed, or because we don't delete you, we just change your password so you never have access to it again. Does it automatically lock you out of viewing?
It's all based off of the WordPress user credential. It's a single sign-on.
So it's integrated into the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's already there.
All right, so I have a motion now.
Jack.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, within, that for workshops, they be recorded, and the full duration of the workshop, 100%, be available within 3 working days, as soon as possible, and no later than 3 working days following the conclusion of the meeting for all accessible behind the password for all Celebration residents in good standing.
Accessible behind the password.
Behind password. Does that help? Does that help, Rick?
And in good standing would be the same definition as the previous motion.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got a motion on the table.
Second.
And a second. Discussion?
That was Paul.
Paul's second.
So I think the only thing that I would be concerned with is that if I'm not redacting anything from it, what's the difference than it having just streamed live?
To me, when I've been on television and been live, it's different than when I'm taped. I feel different. I feel like if I really, really blow it, then I could scream behind the scenes and they could cut that out. That to me, that's the difference. I feel different, and I'm trying to go back to encourage openness among us.
All right. Further
May not be
discussion?
convincing
That will give you time to get out of town.
Yeah, it gives me 24 to 72 hours to get out of town. You're right. Absolutely.
So Dave, are you leaving the ability to redact in there or no?
No, I am not leaving that in.
All right, so
100%.
further discussion?
Yeah, I'll just, I think we shouldn't change anything, personally. So I'm not going to be voting for this.
Okay, are you willing to amend your?
Oh, no, I'm just discussing. It's just me rambling.
Okay.
now.
let's
No,
call
just
for-
leave that as it and see how it takes.
Call for a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right.
That's
Eric and Tim.
And
opposed.
Debbie.
And Debbie? Debbie? Okay. The motion carries then, guys. You're on tape.
Delayed.
Delayed tape. Okay.
And we have a meeting from the beginning of this month that was a workshop that was recorded. We will get that, as soon as we get all of this paid for and taken care of, we'll get that loaded in the viewable archives.
Okay.
Actually, since I voted in the affirmative, I would like a revote.
Yeah, you can call for that.
Okay. Would you
Wait a
like
minute.
that further
Another
discussion?
Rules of order here.
Is there something you'd like to add to this?
No, actually, I'm actually going to change my vote. I had a long talk with Eric a few days ago on the phone, and
Leonard has a lot of free time.
I think,
So-
and I just, I think the behind the firewall doesn't, I mean, it's good to be behind the firewall, but as long as we're doing that with the live, if it's no additional cost.
We're doing the same thing with the workshop meetings. So it's
To do it with the workshop, there's no additional cost.
No, it's just the staff time that it takes to set the equipment up. Well, they're going to do that anyway. Yeah.
So I would actually, since I voted affirmative, I'd like to have a revote, and I believe Eric seconded that.
Oh, I haven't, so that.
I'm not sure where I'm at on this.
I
I really don't know.
I don't know. I just,
Yes. All right. All in favor of the original motion, say aye.
Aye.
You have 3 ayes. And you
All
have,
No,
opposed?
Debbie just said aye.
Yeah.
On the original motion?
All right. All right. How do you vote, Tim?
Nay.
David? Paul?
aye.
Aye.
Nay.
nay, it passes still. Okay.
Passes. Okay. Opposing votes were Eric, Leonard, and Tim.
And this is where we look silly on film sometime.
Thank you.
I want to be able to get out of town, that's all I'm going to say.
All right, let's move on to tab 4. Motion to approve the public.
There's going to be a fiber truck in the alley, so you won't be able to get out.
All right. Motion to approve the public purpose agreement for the civic corridor. And the draft public purpose agreement is included in updates at the board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, discussion?
Would you like me to offer some
Please.
clarification first?
Please.
So our complication, we're trying to figure out how to build a road to get to the piece of property at the Civic Corridor where we're going to eventually build our athletic field complex. And we're running into numerous complications with the road because we have a 50-foot access easement to build the road. And on that access easement, or underneath that access easement, there's also a gas line. So the complications and the challenges of designing this road so that it all fits underneath that 50-foot easement and does not affect the gas line, they're limited. I think we're down to one option out of 13 now, and we're exploring through that option. We're going to meet with Toho, or with the gas company, in their offices, myself and Mark, our engineer, and we're going to talk to them about the possibility of essentially just cramming all the utilities, the stormwater, the pavement, the sidewalk, everything over the top of this gas line. And the question is it going to be allowed or is it not going to be allowed? And even if it is allowed, there's a huge expense involved in doing that, and it does not give us a uniform road that matches the existing road that we already have. But if the answer is no, then we're out of options, and our only choice left is to ask the development district. If you want to access the athletic fields from that piece of land there, the only choice we have left is ask the development district to work with us, collaborate, to have a public purpose on the Civic Corridor property, so then they could build a road, and they could assess building that road. And that's essentially what we're asking you to do tonight, is to approve the ability that if the first option doesn't work, that we have this option available to work with the development district. This isn't guaranteeing that the development district's even going to approve this. It still has to go back to them for discussion. They have a workshop on May 7th, I believe. We just want to be prepared. We want to make sure all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed going into that meeting on March 7th.
So I think the
May
way
7th.
that I understood this when I read this, and just kind of understanding what we're doing this evening, is we're actually not voting to move forward with something like this. We're simply providing management the option, should that need to be exercised, correct? And that even if we were to come back and it would be determined that this would be what we need to do, that would still come back before us for discussion and a vote, right?
No, not necessarily. So
Okay.
you, to build the road, for the development district to build the road and to assess, the development district built a road to their building. They assessed CROA as part of the payment for that road. The only way they could do that, they had to meet 3 criteria. One was there has to be a public purpose. Development district building is a public purpose. The second criteria is a assessment methodology, that to determine how they're going to assess the parties that are involved. The third is design standards. Does the road meet the county design standards? Does it meet the Celebration Company's design standards? We know that the design standards, if we build the road the way it's built now, meets the design standards. We know that they can come up with an assessment methodology because they did for us. I copied you all on an email this week that showed you that assessment methodology that they used to assess us. So now we have to have a public purpose. If they were to build a road that just goes to a CROA facility that's all yours, all private CROA, and has no public purpose, they technically can't do that. So there has to be a public purpose. So what you're agreeing to tonight, if you approve this, is that you would allow public purpose in the form of possibly a easement for a trail or a sidewalk, in the form of a restroom available at that facility. Now, if you do not approve this, if you do approve this and they come back and they don't do it, you're not bound to anything at all. It just doesn't happen. It dies.
Okay.
My concern with this, Steve, is when we jump ahead to the 5th tab, the motion to approve the offer to the golf course for $600,000.
That's not the amount.
I know that's what we're discussing right now,
But that's not even, there's no amount listed on there actually now, if you read the new agenda.
I see a new thing, but $600,000 was what was discussed before.
Well, let's just tell everyone.
We want a live stream, to talk about it. The concern is the cost of the project is growing, and if CDD, if we approve for the public purpose for them, they would have to have a public purpose. But when we're looking at this, I'm just concerned it would lead to litigation with the golf course, because there's been absolutely no cooperation or connection or communication with them. And the project adding on another close to, I don't know where this is going to go with.
Well, part of the issue with the
litigation.
golf course, obviously they've ignored all of our letters and requests to meet with them, and for us to explain to them, we really need the easement in order to
Right.
build the sidewalk and the trail. They're talking 4 acres of land, and we just look, 10 feet off that thing. They won't talk to us. So this allows CDD to actually condemn land if they need to. But
It would still reach a legal battle. We can't just condemn
It would
it.
reach a legal battle, but it's a legal thing. That's the only way we can proceed in order to get this done.
Debbie, I think you asked me 2 different questions. The second question I'll answer first, that you asked about additional costs. I don't think that tab 5, motion 5, has anything to do with motion 4. They're two. You have to look at them as 2 completely separate motions. So that takes back to your question on tab 4. If we give a public purpose and the development district decides at that point in time to initiate the building of this road, and they send that letter, and you all can read that letter that I sent you, that they sent to you, CROA, when they did this assessment back in 2014. That's the language of the letter that they would send to the golf course, telling them that they're going to have a discussion. The golf course can come, they can negotiate, they can talk about it, but it initiates the process. We can't guarantee whether they'll litigate, whether they won't litigate. We don't know. We don't have enough information, and we'll never know unless we start the process. The development district at their meeting that we had, Leonard and Dave and Jack were all 3 there. They said that they can't even start these conversations with us until you all have given them a public purpose. That's the intention of this motion. That's what this does.
So does this motion, So if we approve a public purpose and they start to pursue it, that is not construction funds per se.
No, this does not commit you to
This
any
is
funds.
conversation funds.
Yes, and our attorney gave that opinion based on their review of this letter, and I provided that to you also.
Yeah.
But their opinion is that that would be another separate agreement altogether.
And
Any
this-
talk or discussion
So there's no,
of cost.
commitment of dollars associated with this?
No. No.
Because I've started to, when I start to hear these numbers and the 600,000 and the 3 million and so forth, just in the math and what I circulated to the board prior to the meeting, I'm at 6.185 million for what we know.
Well, I think it's very unfair to start talking about numbers yet until you get estimates. Right now, it's all just been general conversation. And to be, at this point, you've asked for the Taj Mahal of athletic fields. You might not want to purchase the Taj Mahal of athletic fields. You might, once you start getting estimates,
We need to think.
you may come
having
back
that
and start
conversation.
cutting. Right.
Even with these are upper level estimates.
Sure.
And sure, we can eliminate restrooms and then we eliminate public purpose. We can eliminate the trail and not have public purpose. But we need to decide that.
Well, if you can build the road on your own, then you'll have the option at that point to do whatever you want on the civic corridor property, because there won't be a requirement for a public purpose.
So I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
Even though we ask for this now,
Right.
if they grant it, we can say, now we've decided we don't want public purpose.
Yeah, and if you want to build an $800,000 road on top of the gas line, so that you can have full private access to that facility and not make it public at all, you will have the option to do that.
Okay, that's important.
But if you want to have the development district collaborate with you to build the road, it is a requirement that you pass this public purpose.
So then the motion would be something like, I move that we provide public access option to our.
I think you are approving this agreement the way it was written and as it was reviewed by your attorney.
Okay, all right, so.
And the attorney, to reiterate what you said, the attorney says it does not bind us.
He says that it would be a separate agreement when
It's
it comes
not a binding,
to cost.
and what this does is it allows the CDD to spend money, their money, through looking into the costs of building the road through there for us that we're going to get assessed probably on. And it allows them to also, they've dealt with TICO before on the gas pipeline when they had to build the line up through the road up through there. It's putting the road building in the hands of someone that has experience with road building. It also does something else that it will allow us to choose a methodology on how we pay for the road. In that, if we decide, you know what, we're just going to pay for it up front, cash out, we can do that. They could also float it at 3% for up to 20 years through their regular banking bond system, is what they were told us at, were you in the meeting that?
They could come in higher than 3%. I mean, when we originally were assessed at 7.5%, but they went down to 3%.
But I just asked that question the other night in the meeting.
They do have the ability to do it at 3%.
And they said they had the ability to do it at 3%, and I said, for 10 years, and they said, we actually could do that up to 20 without having to float a bond.
All right, so I'll make the motion.
Oh, actually, the motion's already been made, I believe. Eric, didn't you make the motion?
Yeah, it's been made.
No motion's
No, well, this motion has been made.
Someone made it, or we wouldn't be talking about it.
No.
Yeah, no, Eric made the motion, and then.
Oh, no, you're
Leonard
correct.
seconded it.
Yep,
That's what opened up discussion.
you're correct. I'm sorry.
No, Eric and Leonard.
So I'll piggyback off of what Tim said here real quick, but I just have one thing that I guess is not clear to me in that, and this might be two completely separate issues. So if we want to give up a parcel of property, if I understand correctly, that's owned by the homeowners association, it's required to have a majority vote or some ridiculously high percentage of residents within the community.
No, it requires us to go to the threshold and quorum level.
Yes,
Okay.
but
No, I think there's something different with land, but that might not, I'm just using that as a relationship here. Because we are technically building a CROA asset with CROA funds that would be available to non-CROA members, is there any stipulation that requires us as a homeowners association that precludes us from doing that as a board without having to go to a vote of the residents?
If I may, I think what you're talking to, Eric, are you talking about where they're going to build the boardwalk across our property?
No, I'm actually talking about, we're building a bathroom, and I understand that we're talking about that this agreement is just an option, but let's say that this agreement is gold, and this is the way that we move forward on it, and this is an option, and everyone's happy. We have now built a bathroom for technically the residents of Osceola County.
Yes, and we let them in, and we actually...
Well, actually, it's a public access room on our property. All we're doing is allowing them to use the bathrooms.
Yeah, but
we're not ceding the property over to the CDD.
But the way that the agreement is written, it states that for the public bathrooms, public improvements shall include, amongst other things, public bathrooms which shall comply with Americans with Disabilities Act and related provisions of Florida law. Such public bathrooms shall be dedicated to the public and/or conveyed to the CDD. So you just have to commit to it being open to the public. You can't put card scanners on it and lock everybody out, other than residents.
No, right, yeah, exactly. No. I'm fine with that. So.
And the other thing is,
it sounds like a legal issue that maybe we can answer. Is that something we can ask our attorney to see if we were required to have a resident vote for something?
Right, and he's saying, as part of this, you can either retain it and dedicate it to the public, or transfer to the CBD. And if you transfer the property, if you transfer the property, then I believe there is a vote, and we can find out exactly what that vote is. But you have that option with this agreement. It doesn't lock you into one or the other.
No,
it's
right.
open for a discussion on how you want to do it.
I think the question, and I complicated it by what I'm saying, I think what is we are technically building a homeowners association amenity that we are opening up to anyone. And is there a problem with doing that?
We have people running over Long Meadow Park all day long.
No, I'm not saying that we don't have this now, but I'm more saying, do we get in trouble as a board by doing this?
You have the ability to rent out your facilities. I mean, we have just in our recreation program plan, we have the very last category is non-residents can rent once everything else is rented. So you would still have that
Renting's
ability.
different than, he's right, giving over.
Sure,
That's not something we need.
Yeah. Well,
It has nothing to do with this resolution tonight.
That's correct.
All right, so any
All right.
further discussion?
So just so that Rachel's clear, I'll restate my motion that I move to approve the public purpose agreement as provided and reviewed by our attorney.
And I will second that a second time.
Okay, now, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, tab 5, motion to approve an offer to the golf course to purchase acreage.
I think maybe that should actually probably be changed to motion to discuss
Yeah, I have nothing on that. Did I miss something?
the purchase. Well, there's nothing going forward yet. Basically, my idea is if you just take the rectangle of the golf course property, they've got 4.03 acres. If you would divide that somewhere in half, and we would take the northern part, I call it northern because it's up on top, we take the part closest to 417, which is where that easement runs through already. We could actually stop the CDD road right where it stops, or make a little cul-de-sac right there, and everything from there on would be our parking lot going up through there. Depending on the cost, if the golf course is willing to talk with us in the next 6 weeks or so, and I did actually get a contact person with them today. Actually, I was not available to talk with, Jack Davis Jr. was on property, but when I went there, he was out on the golf course and had other things to do, and I should have just staked him out till I got there, but I had too many other things on my list today. But I have gotten a mail address and a contact person up in Virginia that does not appear to be their attorney, because that's all in the prior contacts we've ever had was attorney letters back from them. And it might not have been us, but it was definitely the CDD was hearing back from their attorney. So my proposal would be, again, this would be cost benefit analysis on whether it be an acre, acre and a half, 2 acres of that northern part, and making it a win-win situation in that under certain areas there by the golf course, they might appreciate if we put up extra, and I don't plan on paying any more for this than if we build our road straight in. But this would, number one, provide a lot more parking by having that extra room up through there to pull parking off on both sides.
So the motion then is to approve the discussion.
Yeah, I think that's where it needs to be versus, initially I'd started with
I make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, now further discussion.
I'd like to offer just a little clarification to this. When Mark and I met with the county to talk about the road and how we can, because we really went in there saying, we have a business problem, we need help with some solutions. The first response they gave us was, why don't you just acquire the golf course property and make everything easier? And I said, well, that would be the perfect world if we could do that. Then you could build the road, it would be your property. Even if you build the road yourself now on the 50-foot easement, it's not your road, it's the golf course's road. You can't lock the gate and make them pay a fee to get in. It's golf course property, you just have an easement to build something over it. So you would build it, you'd maintain it, but it wouldn't be your road. And it's again, if you do it on your easement, it's an $800,000 ticket. So it really is the ideal situation if there's any way you could acquire that. It's all speculation right now, though, because we don't know that the golf course is even interested in selling that property.
I think over the next 6 weeks, we should look at this parallel to finding out about the road all the way in. And back to David's point also, we need to look strongly at the total cost of this whole project. But I would like to frame it as a win-win situation in the golf course selling us a portion of this land that we come through and we would agree to things such as, and we may already be going in the direction of putting some of these things in, but the sound systems, the more expensive ones that are more directional, so you're not having the bleed over of noise versus just the regular one that would meet county code, that would be sound like Old Town next to you. Our lighting there and our landscaping could all be beneficial.
Can I respond? I think we get what you're going at. And what we're talking about now is a huge expenditure of money just to get to the point to build a small road to our property. We're not talking just about $600,000 here. We're talking about whatever else you want to do there. We're talking about what I saw with Mark. The trail was going to cost $800,000 or $900,000, and that's all just to get around the fact that we can't get our road through there. So I am not where Steve is at all in terms of saying we're at our final. Because at the end of the day, how this thing started is that, I think we've got to understand, is that we were sold, now TCC would say we'd give it, but we were sold,
no access.
Took this piece of land off their back because they were going to have to build a $10 million road over water. So we were sold property, and we were sold property, when you sell property, we were sold that we had access to that property. So we have this property, it was sold to us. We wouldn't buy property, I'm not a lawyer, but we wouldn't buy property we didn't have access to, right? So we were told we have access to it. Now we're talking about how we're going to spend $1.5 million to get access to our property, which when we bought the property, so I don't think we've even talked yet, am I right, to a real estate attorney to sit there and determine, for them to look at this situation and say, listen, and give their legal opinion in terms of what our rights are, what happened in this whole transaction, because I just can't get over the fact that we bought property and we can't get access to that property. We're sitting there spending all this time spinning our wheels trying to figure out how to get access to our property. Wait a minute, we bought the property with access. How does this work that we have to try and figure out how to get access to it?
Well, we actually spent $10 for the property, but secondly,
we bought the property.
Yeah.
But secondly,
I don't care about what the price was. We took a
saved them
huge
$10 million.
liability off their back, so we did them a big favor by taking that property. That's the way I
Yeah,
look at it.
I think we need an real
And
estate
the only
attorney.
reason we would do it is, why would we do it if we can't have access to it?
I mean, TCC, when they gifted or sold us a property for $10, again, we have no access to it, and I think we should look at a real estate attorney because it's ridiculous. I mean, we're looking at spending $4 to $5 million on an asset. We don't even know if we'll be able to get to it, because I don't think they're going to grant over gas lines. I don't feel comfortable going over gas lines. I'm sorry, but I just think we're...
don't
we're
drive in
really-
North Village then.
Well,
So I
that
think
costs
we
$2 million
pursue
to do a bridge.
We pursue every avenue we can without spending money, and don't even approach the golf course yet. And if that's a dead end, I think then I would like for us to do a real estate attorney and see what, basically, we've done everything we can to try and get access to that property, and we've failed. Gas company won't let us, the county won't let us. And I think we got to get an attorney involved and say, we can't get to our property, man. It's like,
So I'm not an attorney, however, I can operate a web browser. And in looking at the property, one of the concerns that we originally had was that we didn't have access from the North Village side of any of this. And the concern that was granted was that there was a Reedy Creek easement that was in there that blocked us, essentially, that we couldn't get over.
Actually, they own that property, it's not an easement.
Sorry, yeah, so they own that property. However, we own, according to the assessor's records, land that connects without any easement over it in between Celebration Avenue and parcel, whatever this is called.
Actually, the CDD area owns these little tiny ones in here.
No.
If you go, you got a little one right there, right next to it.
This one?
Right there.
No, we do. That was one of the tracks that's given to us. They did all this, unless this is incorrect.
yeah.
So I think
again,
this is
that
piggybacking
for I think
someone
that's
else
for
to
attorney
determine.
give us advice. I'm just not prepared, if somebody wants to go to the golf course and say, would you sell the property, what would it be, that's fine. I'm not at all prepared to make any kind of financial commitment to the golf course, but.
That's not the
Well, we're not-
motion.
that's not the motion. The motion is to discuss with the golf
approve
course.
And discussion to the golf course to purchase.
Well, the
Okay.
prior communication received had
That part with the real estate attorney, in my opinion, is a part of that.
Yeah. So we have,
I'm sorry, Tim, what did you say?
All right, so what do we have here? Is there a motion on the table then?
there's a motion and a second.
And a second. Okay, any further discussion?
And I changed it to read discussion, not offer.
That's
Can you
correct.
repeat the motion, Rachel?
So
Motion
motion,
to approve discussion of the golf course and to purchase the property.
okay, because we can always say no.
Yes,
With the golf course.
that's all I wanted to do is start this conversation,
Want to have a real estate attorney?
because even if we build
Start the discussion.
the cheapest road we can build that goes across that, our option 13 is still $800,000.
Yeah.
That's going across the easement area. If we can buy part of that golf course property, we can stop our road right there at the CDD building, and we can actually go into our parking lot. And parking lots are a lot cheaper to build
See, then we look at total cost options.
then plus you don't have that limited parking of only 50 cars or less that's designed currently.
This is something for a
All
future.
right, well,
future
let's
discussion.
call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, tab 6 is to, a motion to approve $1 million, is to move $1 million from operating surplus to reserves.
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Okay, discussion?
Paul, would you?
Well, I'm happy to take through it. Yeah, we've talked about, we've had some discussions with our cash management, and a lot of our reserves, we've got, as we talked about, $5 million in reserves, and a lot of that isn't just, we're getting like 0.1%. So part of doing that would be to move it into account that we can get 1%, 1.2%. So it's 1%, it's still $10,000 that we wouldn't have otherwise. The second part of that is this operating cash. It has evolved, it's come out over time. So it's, 1 year we're 50,000 up, 70,000. Generally, the CDD, we've been operating, Suzanne, correct me if I say anything wrong. We've been operating, usually we make more money than we spend, so our budgets are And so over time, that has accumulated to the point now that we have in our just operating cash, you'll see we have $2.6 million. And if you think about operating cash, in terms of putting it into a reserve account or moving it out of your operating cash, you're looking at that to make sure that, if sometime we have a crisis, people just, a lot of people stop paying, or people start paying late, or whatever. But generally, as you look at moving money into out of operating into reserve, you want to make sure that there isn't a lot of fluctuation, that you might not reach a point where it's like, wait a minute, we don't have, now we don't have enough cash in that account. And I guess what I'm saying is that cash account, if you look at it over the years, it has stayed very flat, because basically, we get money in and we spend it. We bill quarterly. We get most of our income over 2 months. So there's only like 1 month where it fluctuates a little bit. So we have $2.5 million in that. We have $1 million in liabilities, but that stays fairly constant as well. So our net is 1.5, but we always have about $2.5 million in operating cash. So all we're doing is asking to move, and that's again accumulated surpluses. So we're asking us to move $1 million of that into reserves. We can then get a higher interest rate on it, but then also that becomes available to us for, and I think I'm correct, is that, as we've seen, is that our needs in terms of capital spending are going to be higher, that if we want to move forward in any kind of way, that, we need more cash in our reserves. I think this board made the wise decision to fully reserve all of our, recognizing that we have very big capital expenditures coming up. This takes another $1 million and makes it available for soccer fields for the next phase of the downtown part of the Lakeside Park. So I guess it's 2 points. It's getting a higher interest rate. The second point is that in order for us to keep on our schedule of trying to improve our amenities over time, we need more money in those reserves, and this will give us another $1 million. Is that right? That's
I think that's.
Is that?
Yes.
Does that reflect our discussion we had?
Right, pretty much. But what our investment policy says is that we can't invest operating funds, so we're moving it to reserves so that we can invest it and make a decision at some later point in time what we want to spend it on, most likely.
It's a pool reserve?
Yes.
So I don't have a problem with that. I guess the one thing is that there was a wise gentleman that once complained a lot about me using reserves to pay for a capital expenditure. So if we do this, we cannot, if I want to build a splash pad, I can't use any of that $1 million to do it.
Well, I think that the way you have to look at this is there's already a pool of replacement reserve money, and we really would like to look at this in 4 different categories. You have contingency money that's in reserves, and that's always been kind of earmarked as your rainy day. A hurricane comes through, that's your emergency money.
The contingency is $420,000 more or less right now.
It's almost close to $500,000.
So go ahead.
And then you have your replacement reserve pool, which is all your money that you're funding also through operating for replacement reserves, the near $1 million projects that Todd's going to be working on throughout the year. So that's where what you're talking about, Eric, that does apply. Then you have the third pool of money that is in reserves also. That's the capital improvement money. That's the parks money, the park improvement, but it's still under reserves. This would be a fourth pool almost by itself of $1 million reserve money. And you could use that technically to borrow from any of the other two if you wanted to.
And so this is just an accounting move.
Yes.
This really doesn't mean anything.
Yes, that's right.
I hate to say it, but this doesn't mean anything.
It just allows you to invest in it.
I don't know that our operating reserves, that we would be able to use that for our capital. So we're kind of moving that into capital, so we can use for capital. But the other part is to get a higher interest rate, and we'll get $10,000 a year.
Okay.
Because we're prohibited from investing.
All right, so are we ready to vote then? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. What I'd like to do now is combine tabs 8 through 10B. Sorry, forget that.
That's okay.
Let's go to tab 7. Motion to approve the 2017 Founder's Day budget as proposed. It's a CROA operating expense.
I will motion not to approve that.
And do I have a second?
And to keep it at the budgeted amount of $29,355.
I'll second the general principle
For discussion.
purposes.
All right, then let's begin the discussion.
I might be comfortable somewhere in between, but I would definitely not be comfortable with the amount that we're talking about now.
I have a question for JR. Did you speak with the Special Events Committee about the plan that you submitted?
They received the same email
Do you want to come up? I'm sorry.
They received the same information.
They received the information?
They received the same thing, the email you did and the budget you did.
Okay, so there was no prior discussion?
I had discussions with some of them, yes. This took place, I was asked to put this together after our last meeting, so no, this wasn't addressed at a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, so we're in discussion here, and I think the question really comes up. So we had a really kick-ass celebration is what we had. And I think there's kudos to JR for pulling all that stuff off and doing a lot of, these things that we've done. And we had a really good time. The flip side of that is that that's not free. And so I think we just need to make a decision on service level, and we need to be explicitly clear on that, because it's very unfair, and I will have a big problem with if we decide to reduce or not approve this budget because we think that it's too much money, but then go in with the expectation that JR and his team are going to pull off the same service level.
Exactly.
Right. Which you just can't do that. So I think that needs to go hand in hand, and that needs to be very explicitly clear.
Yeah, I mean, I just personally, the 20th anniversary was a big event. I'm not expecting the same thing for the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, maybe the 25th. But
that'll be big.
I'm concerned if we try to do that big event every year, and because we raised the budget so much for the 20th, that's a concern. I don't feel it's prudent to do that.
We were trying to find somewhere in between normal year and blowout 20th anniversary.
I mean, I don't think we need fireworks every year. I mean, we can look out and see them every night at Disney, but I think 17,000.
So for people to know, we're talking this is a budget of $68,860 for the Founder's Day. This last year we spent, what did we spend? I think you put together
Well, I think JR did it. For 2015, $22,679. So $23,000 was spent in 2015.
And that included a concert, that included
Two concerts, yeah.
What it didn't include was the fireworks.
Didn't include fireworks and big name entertainment. So the proposal for this year, I think, is about 29. It was good 2 years ago.
The fireworks are 17.
Last year was 79.
79,000.
Last year was 79. Year before was 23.
And the entertainment in 15 was the same entertainment we've been doing for quite a few years.
We had a sponsor for 5,000 of that?
It was 6,000 in the budget.
The last 2 years, we had sponsorships, and that's what we intended to do again this year.
And the barbecue 2 years ago was 7,800, and proposed for this year is 15,900.
I think that's just based on numbers, though.
That's a rough estimate. I mean,
So it's double.
Well, it was 1,900 last year, 1,900 people. We ordered for 500 the year before and ran out of food at about 10 after 2.
Yeah. I was pissed.
But I think I think the barbecue's a sub-issue. I think there's some other ways of managing that, so we can order the right amount of food.
Well, what we did this year was a ticketed system, and it worked perfectly.
Right. That's what
it's just a matter of, whether
It worked perfectly. So there were 2,000 people came.
We ordered for we distributed over 2,100 tickets. We ordered for 1,900. Usually, an event like this, you do a 10% wash, and we served a little over 1,900.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What if we charge $5 a ticket?
That's a board decision. I mean, that's, not a problem. We're still, because this year, if we do the barbecue, we're still planning on doing a ticketing system.
Yeah.
Because it holds up, it helps keep costs in line, and it helps us as far as our counts go.
Sure. So I think there's several issues here. The fireworks, I would propose, even though that's funded by a different account, I propose not even talking about it. In other words, take it off the table. rather than going to that account for 17 grand for the
Yeah,
fireworks.
Is that the only thing we can access the CS for other things other than fireworks, right?
CCS money was designed to promote celebration. Now, you don't have to advertise it on, period.
So
It's-
it wouldn't make a difference if we nix the fireworks, we'll still get that cash.
You fund it. I mean, it's-
No, but we're not
it's
promoting
CCS.
celebration. This is an event that's supposed to be for founders, so we don't need to promote it
We
outside.
already have, we contribute 15,000 to CJC. CROA contributes 5,000 to CJC, so there's a $20,000 amount going into the CCS account, which is a 501c4 organization. As part of that, we've already committed 15 to 17,000 this year for the 4th of July fireworks out of that, because that was part of an agreement a year ago on the 4th of July to do it out of the next two years. Personally, I'm only one vote on the CS committee, but I would be voting against spending it here, fireworks.
And I'm just proposing that we not go to that well, even if the money were there. This year, for year 21. Limit the fireworks.
So I think the only thing that I would say is that I want to be able to give JR and the Special Events Committee and his team the leeway in order to be able to plan and provide the event that we can, because there may be expenses and different things that we're just not aware of,
So let's come up with a number then.
Well, the budget is 29, the approved budget is 29 something. The current approved budget is 29 something.
$29,355.
So
If we're 22,505 additional amounts requested, 17K of that we could take off.
No, 17's already out of it.
Huh?
17's already out of it.
17's already out.
Already out of it. Okay.
You still need
68,860 is what's proposed.
So the only way you're going to make money is to charge for tickets.
Well, your 68,000 would also drop by 17,000 there, so you'd start at the 51.
Started that only $5,000.
So I think
29,000.
I'd like
355.
I'd like to just ask JR. This money didn't come from, or this number didn't just come out of the blue from nowhere. So let's say if the board is uncomfortable with spending that amount of money, what type of event do you feel that we would be able to obtain for a reduced amount, or where would we be losing, I guess, entertainment or services or that sort of thing as part of the event?
It basically depends what kind of punch you want.
Okay.
After the 15 event, I was told, that the Friday night event basically had grown stale.
Yeah.
They wanted something, a band downtown where people can go, they can mingle, families can come out. That's what we kind of looked at for 16. I don't know what we can do as far as that, if it gets reduced to a one day and there is no concert, there is nothing downtown. I've talked to a few promoters already, different bands. We've talked to them, but I've held off now until, I have directed what we're going to do before I start negotiating any further.
Sure. Okay.
I will say, I know a little bit about booking stuff, but a lot of these bands that I've dealt with, first they'll throw out a number, and typically you can come back and you can come down by, they'll throw out a big number, and more often than not, say they throw out 15,000, and I'll say my budget's only $7,000, and 9 times out of 10 they'll accept it. So
well, the 12.5 number, like I mentioned in the email, the 12.5 number is the highest. I've done this for several years. I know how the game
when you
works.
come to us, it's like I'm approving. And that's the thing is, I agree with you. All these things are very high, and that ends up with a high number that worries me. So I would rather go in with an aggressive number, and then you can go when the band says, "Well, I need $12,000." You can say, "Listen, those jerks on the CROA, they only gave me $8,000. Can you do it for that?" And I guarantee, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably accept it. Or you just go to the next guy. But there are a lot of good bands that are.
I know. I don't want to get specific numbers because we tape this right now, or the band names. But there's somebody I've already negotiated down to a level that I'm very comfortable at. But again, it's just what we want to.
The back line is expensive.
So when you add up
all these things are.
Yeah,
artist lodging, all that stuff seems very...
It's 21.4 when you add up those three items.
Well, and we're asking to get direction to move forward on the type and level of service of event you all would like to see.
Right.
We have to bring back that contract to you anyways for a band. I mean, we can't just go out and spend it because it's over the $2,500 spending threshold that we
I don't
have. So
understand.
you would have to approve that contract.
Yeah, I understand that. I would like, though, to be have some collaborations with the special events, since these are the volunteers, too, that work and have worked with the community for quite a long time. Just some discussion with them. They have a meeting coming up, and do you know, Eileen, your next meeting? Right?
Well, then, can I?
Maybe they have some fresh ideas.
I think we would very much like to discuss it.
Yeah, can I ask for clarification then? I think that the Special Events Committee, that you're delegating to the Special Events Committee or giving them objectives of what you'd like to see. I think that it would help Special Events Committee to work with management and JR's team if they know what that vision is of what you're looking for. Because if they just go back out there and say, I think Eric asked the question, is it what we did 2 years ago? Is it what we did last year, or is it somewhere in between?
Well,
And then they
when we
can come
set
up with
the
something
budget,
creative for you.
originally, when we set the budget at 29.3, or say 30,000, we set the budget, that was our expectation. It would be $30,000 worth of an event, not something where we're looking at 68. I mean, that's a big jump.
I think
And if we set this 2 years in a row, we're
Yeah.
going to be looking at doing this infinitum.
I
and
think
just don't
the
we can afford it.
Special Events Committee could come through with a nice program. It's not going to be exactly the same as it was last year, but we're living
But it'll be
within
the same as it was in 2015.
2015, 2014, and we're living within our means.
Well, let's look at, maybe look at it this way, okay, let's say 2015, $23,000. Okay, that's, maybe we could sit there and say, that's a little bit below what we would want to think would put on a real good program in a non-anniversary, big anniversary year. So and maybe we establish, so maybe we establish $40,000, something like $40,000. You do some different stuff with you look at the food and how you can approach that. Maybe you ask whatever, but say we look at like a $40,000. Then in the anniversary year, we'll go back and, that will be an $80,000. But I think we got to be a little bit, what I fear is that if we get to doing fireworks and the big band and stuff, what's going to end up happening is that word's going to get out. And
Every year they'll
after
be
a few
here.
years, this is not going to be a celebration.
I
But if you
agree.
do it every 5 years, it's like, that's the big blowout, and it's a special event. The other years are really good, but, they're not the anniversary year. And I think what we're talking about here is almost doing an anniversary year every year.
I agree with Paul. I think if 29 is not enough, then maybe 35 might be the number we look at or something like that.
Yeah.
So right now, the current budget of 29 is about 30% higher than it was 2 years ago. Or, is that right? 30% higher? 30% higher. So we're already up a lot.
All right, there's a
Is
request
that-
for
is not
somebody to
29
speak.
reasonable?
Tab 7 says, motion to approve the 2017 Founder's Day budget as proposed. So
The motion-
proposed is 29.
No, as proposed or as proposed in our tab?
68.
As,
68,860.
I read it as proposed when we approve the budget.
That is with the motion I made. I changed the motion from the way it was written here to staying with our proposed budget of $29,355. We,
Yeah.
And then if he has a reason to come to us to increase that, tweak it one way or the other, then, because we got to approve the contracts anyway.
and let the Special Events Committee look at this.
Like when it would be a ballot.
When I approached a few of the members on there after I'd seen the initial possibility of being that high, they said, no, we were looking at doing the same as 2014, 2015, in that same range
And I can understand
of service.
a cost of increase for,
And then, no,
By 30%.
but then having the next blowout at 25 years.
So that gives some of the, if you will, the discussion or the guidance to the committee and to JR about, as much as we loved last year, it gives guidance about the spirit that we want this
So
year.
what was your motion?
Is that fair?
Yeah, my motion was to
Leonard, I'm sorry, 1 second. Can I recognize Eileen? Can you come up? I'm sorry.
Are you, two separate things being asked?
You need to come up here.
And I will share. Because I sort of hear two separate things being asked. On one side, we're talking all about the amount of money. On the other hand, I think everybody sort of got a little bit nervous after what happened with the porch and yard sale being canceled. So I think what JR is asking is, do you feel that we should just go back and do what we did in 14, 15, and, with 16 being blowout? Or is there a certain amount of times have changed, look at it, make it a little fresher, move it around a little bit, and see within the parameters, though we may have to come back and ask for some more funds to do the vision. I think he's looking more for guidance, less about
That's kind of what I
money,
said about
as more about, do we want to try to do something new and interesting while still staying within the parameters of the traditional, and the conservative people in town will not get upset that we've changed something.
Like I said, that's kind of what I just said a few minutes ago. We've got to approve these contracts anyway. So if we vote the motion to stay with the Founder's Day budget as it is at 29 and some change, and if he comes to us and say, hey, we can get the Beatles now for $35,000, you want the Beatles here, then, and if we like that, we'll write the contract.
Well, I'd
tweak it a little.
I'd like to
Tweak the
consider
dollars.
upping the budget by 10%, make it $32,000.
But I also like to consider charging $5 a ticket for the food to offset that, so actually...
Has it always been free, JR?
Yeah.
Since I've been here.
I don't like the idea of charging for food. I like the idea of tickets, but not charging.
Well, the
I'm
understanding
okay to
is...
charge because we end up with a lot of people that are not residents.
It costs us $15.94 per person.
That's right.
Yeah, and we had a lot of people that weren't residents, and we had people walking off the street.
No, they've got
tickets.
They had tickets.
They had tickets, but we had a lot of people coming up that had the expectation.
But there are a lot of other food choices other than the barbecue place we used last year that could be explored.
There are, but that goes to Eileen's point of what we got to be careful about changing too much
You don't want to
tradition because you'll get the
downgrade
backlash
too
from
much,
it.
but at the same time, you don't want to have the big hoopla we had last year.
Part of the issue is food, and that's variable. And I guess my question, why do we think that if we did 2,100 tickets last year, that we're only going to do 1,000? Because the budget reflects that we think that we're going to be 1,000 less people are going to want free food.
Actually, last year, I just think the 20th anniversary brought more people out.
Yeah. There was a fair amount of
It was
promotion.
connected to an entire weekend.
But if 2,000 people want the food, we're going to have an extra $15,000.
Well, I think the only
Right, but it's also if you charge people now have a reason. They're not going to pay a percentage for that ticket and take the ticket and not show up. So if they're going to pay, then chances are they're going to show up.
That's my feeling, is that if it's a nominal amount, just to have them do a nominal amount, I don't think anybody's not going to come because they're having to pay $5 for the barbecue, but it just ensures that somebody gets a ticket. Because, I've been here several people that got their tickets and they were like, oh my gosh, there are going to be 2,000 people there, right? I'm not going to stand in line.
Well-
And, because people here have disposable income. They're like, they care more about standing in line than getting a free meal.
Paul, to your point, though, if we charge $5 a ticket, that
probably gonna come.
gets us $5,000. If we have 2,000 people show up, we're still going to be on the hook for an additional $10,000 if we subtract the 5,000 tickets. So at least we're covering some.
We're covered, yeah. So that's why, I'm agreeing with you. I like that system. If we haven't numbered tickets, then
Again-
it's $5.
So
Maybe we give the special events and JR time to come back and look at some stuff. Do we have any time? Do we have a month or no? I know the booking of the band is bigger.
Book these people and shoot them and get them.
So the motion on the floor right now is to stick with the current original approved budget without any increase.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
All right. Would you accept the modification?
But we are open to the committee's going to get together.
I'm ready to
and
call
we're
the
open to
question
coming back
whenever.
and asking for more.
I'm ready to call the question.
Call the question.
Call the question.
All right.
Do you want to amend the motion to
No.
what they've talked about? No?
All right.
Okay, we gotta vote it down
All
and
right.
do it.
Any further discussion?
The motion is to maintain the current budget, 29,000, plus dollars, right?
$355.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. There's 3 nays.
Did you name?
I'm an aye.
Oh, poll?
All right, it's Eric, myself, and Debbie.
Three nays.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Jerry.
So we can't come back to anything.
No, they can come back.
No, that you voted they can't. He said they couldn't come back to anything. That's why.
All right, what I'd like to do
Can
now,
we revote?
tab 8 through 10B, I'd like to combine all those together, and we'll motion.
I asked, wait, we got to clarify. I asked
They can
Leonard,
come back and
I asked
ask
Leonard if
for
they could
more,
come
right?
back, he said no.
That's
You
That's
said
their
no.
guidance.
I'm sorry, say
I
again?
asked if they could come back with an adjustment on the budget for your amendment, and you said no.
Not for the amendment, but just they can
No,
come
for
back
the-
to
for
us.
the dollar
in the meeting
amount.
and
Yeah,
say-
there was nothing in that
They-
motion that said.
Are you okay with them coming
or not
back?
come
They can come back with anything, and we can vote every month on anything we want.
Okay.
Then they come back
I
and
mean,
say,
that's
"We
not,
need
I
more."
mean, you're talking parliamentary procedure, and that's not a,
Yeah.
it's not a dead done deal.
They're going to plan within that dollar.
Yeah, they're gonna plan
They're
from the
gonna know
dollar
what
amount.
they have to
Yeah.
work with.
We're good.
All right, so I'd
8A
like
through 10B, is that?
8 through 10B, but I'd like to modify 10A, where it says.
10B.
10A,
10B.
10B.
listen to me.
Okay.
I want a motion to modify the committee, I'm sorry, the Recreation Committee, you're right, 10B. I want to change the composition from to be 5 to 7 members, okay? And I'd like to add Clint Searcy as one of the individuals on the Recreation Committee. So,
I also have adjustments of 8B, I'm sorry. Under the 8B for the Special Events
Hold on,
Committee
hold on.
resolution, it asks,
yes. What I want to do is 10B, modify the Recreation Committee composition to 5 to 7 members.
Actually, Jack, why don't you make that 10C?
Why don't we just vote on these individually?
We could do it all at once.
It'll be very quick, though, I think. It could have already been done.
All right.
Yeah, for as much time as.
Tab 8, motion to approve the Architectural Review Committee resolution and confirmation of Michael Valaket, Alberto Alvila, Brian Halter, Jordan Matthews, and Alec Ross as committee members.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8B, motion to approve Special Events Committee resolution and confirmation of Dory Moyer, Eileen Barr, PJ Cartwright, and Melody Nemeth as committee members.
wait. Yep, under 8B, under the Special Events Committee resolution, what are you doing here?
Nope.
That's what I just read.
We're under 8B.
Okay, they, under the resolution, it shows that the extra money they were raising for the bricks would be used towards extra amenities and maintenance, and I don't remember maintenance ever being discussed. I thought that was something
There's nothing under 8B there.
There's nothing there. Where's that at?
here, under, if you go to your tab,
8B.
it's under our tab 8, but it's actually 8B, motion to approve Special Events Committee resolution. It's under R8. It says that identify and implement civic corridor dog park fundraising activities and events to help offset the cost of amenities and day-to-day operations. But the day-to-day operations for this amenity would be the same as any park. So I just want to exclude the day-to-day operations in that.
Just cut it off at the cost of an additional amenities.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's a good point.
All right. And then 8B, motion to approve the Special Events Committee resolution and confirmation of Dory Moore, Eileen Barr, PJ Cartwright, and Melody Nemeth as committee members.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Tab 9, motion to approve of Covenants Committee resolution and confirmation of Robert LaFlame, Karen Bross, Stephen Fraunfelder, Gary Garofalo, Vaughn Roberts, Gary Hudspeth, and Herb Winfield as committee members.
So moved.
So moved. Oops.
Well, wait.
Tim and Debbie.
Sorry.
Who's
I'll second it. That's fine.
Debbie.
Tim moves.
Tim
motion.
moves, Debbie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 10A, motion to approve the Communications Committee resolution.
So moved.
Question on that, bullet number 1 under item B. I'm sorry, was there a second? I'm sorry.
No, we all have a second.
I was like,
There's no second.
I will second it.
There we go.
They're asking for some items by June 2017, 2 months from now? Is that correct? As long as that's correct, that's fine. Okay.
That's the
Thank you.
start of the budget process.
Thank you.
We're all right.
Okay.
Eric, are you voting?
Make sure it's not a typo.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 10B. Okay. Motion to approve Mark Hayes and Joseph Lynchen and Clint Searcy to the Recreation Committee and to modify the composition from 5 to 7 members.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 11. Motion to approve Board of Directors Standard of Conduct.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I will be handing this up through there as soon as you say it's been
Everybody
approved,
gets
so you
to
can sign
sign
it.
it. All right, motion carries. Tab 12. Motion to approve the recommendation from the Recreation Committee to recategorize the Celebration Foundation from civic and service group to nonprofit community foundation.
Make that motion?
All right, second.
Hearing no seconds, I will make a motion not to approve it.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Leonard, your motion is no.
I'm motioning negative. And Tim Swisher.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to discuss that.
ahead.
Recreation Committee is the one that made this recommendation, right? Vanessa Winter, Patty Paris, Dorian Weir. I'd like to, first, I mean, I think that we have been treating the foundation separately in the past. You know, when we dealt with the issue of thriving in place, we recognized that the foundation was a unique and partner in the community, and so you know, we accommodated and put in place something that we probably would not do with any other entity. You know, I've been here 20 years, and for all 20 years, when we first came to Celebration, the three entities that were here to build and develop Celebration were the CROA, the CDD, and the Celebration Foundation. You know, where the foundation is placed in, it's placed in with civic and service groups, like the Garden Club. You know, do you know who founded the Garden Club? Who created the Garden Club? The foundation was the organization that founded virtually all the civic and service groups. That was their mission, to establish the civic and service groups in Celebration. So what we're talking about is that what we do for the civic and service groups are pretty limited. And how this issue came up recently is that the foundation had their annual meeting, and it was a four-hour annual meeting, once a year, 4 annual meeting. And they were notified, oh, well, you're a civic and service group, you only get 2 hours a month, and so you're going to have to pay for the other 2 hours. And when we set up the Recreation Committee, we set it up with that we want to have consistent policies in place, so we don't want to be in a position of giving exceptions. And so now we're in a position of our founding partner, the Celebration Foundation, and we're telling them, you can't have 2 extra hours to have your annual meeting in the 51 building. And we shouldn't make exceptions. So all the categories that we have, we should not be making exceptions to them. So the issue becomes, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing at Lakeside Park for them. We wouldn't do that for any other civic and service group. So to me, it should be, now they aren't the CDD, or to me, the three organizations that are central to this community, leadership in this community. I mean, nobody does more with less money than the foundation, I guarantee it. I've seen our finances, I've dealt with us, I've seen the finances, I've been the treasurer for the foundation for many years, and trust me, they do, what they do with the little amount of money that they get from this community is miraculous. I mean, do y'all realize how much money, what they do, how much money they get from this community? They get $300 in an estoppel. I mean, that's almost as much as CCMC gets for profit for when they process an estoppel. That amounts to about $70,000 or $80,000 a year. I mean, look at all the services that organization provides for $70,000 or $80,000. It's miraculous. I don't know where it fits. It does not fit as a civic and service group. It fits as one of the three organizations, CDD, CROA, and the foundation. Now, CDD and CROA are government entities. I mean, maybe we could reclassify what those are called, but it fits with those two other organizations. It has been the leader in this community from day one, and I think honestly, in doing this, we're kind of turning. I just don't understand the message that we're sending to the foundation.
So I'll take a very unpopular path with this.
I like it.
I disagree that we wouldn't do something similar for another civic or service group, because I'll give an example. If we had the Garden Club approach us that they were going to do a special event, which I believe they did 3 years ago at Heritage Hall, where they brought in a guest speaker that was going to go over their allotted 2 hours of time, they came in and we approved that for them to, to do that, and there was no fee associated with it. I'm not dismissing the work that the foundation has done or different things that they've done. I will admit that any time that something has come up for the foundation that may go in the negative, I felt that this board has been bullied by the foundation, by far. And to me, I don't see the purpose of doing this or reclassifying them in any way other than simply granting the foundation on paper to look more important, really and truly. And I'm not trying to dismiss the importance of...
You don't think they're more important than the Garden Club or any other civic and service group?
No.
No, I don't either.
Interesting.
They are a community service. Are you finished, Eric?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They are a community service organization. They're classified under the S activity codes with the IRS as a community service organization. And that's pretty much where we've put them.
I
And
encourage you to get out and attend some...
Paul, would you let me, please let me continue? I have the floor, please. I have the floor, please. You tend to talk over the top of me way too much in the meetings. So I let you go on and on and on, and it's my turn to speak. And this is why filming is not always good. But with that said, I sat in the meeting with the community, what's the name of
Recreation Committee?
the new Recreation Committee. And it was myself, Steve, and the three members of the committee, and I believe Gloria was there. And were you there, Eileen? Eileen was there. And basically, I spoke with them at that point. They were asking to have waived the $851 rental fee, which our committee did, and which we should approve that waiver that they've already done this evening. As far as reclassifying them as a higher category, I asked them to explain something other than ego, why they needed to be moved up. Because, and that's the exact words I used, and you don't dispute that, do you?
You use that term.
Yes, okay. And, sorry, I lost my train. And with the classification that was spent a year on going together, went down through so that things are treated the same, does not mean that their Christmas pageant in here that is would actually fall under or could, some of their instances can fall under association programming. Let me give an instance of that. The concert down in the park. They use Lakeside Park for the concerts, and basically, according to our fees here, we do a revenue split, and we do a revenue split with them. They take in $0. We take our percentage of that $0 from them for using Lakeside, and it all works out. And when I went through and said, is there anything else you want to be waived besides your Christmas and this and that,
They were like, no. I go, well, that can be done and recommended by this committee right now, and as far as I'm concerned, it would be approved up above there. Going through and changing someone's status, are we going to go and change the first athletic group that made it in town? Are we going to go through, I mean, you could just go down through here and start to change things upward. I don't think we did anything malice. I think that the foundation coming and actually complaining about something that's like, I consider this almost a tertiary document, maybe it's a secondary document, that they're not getting top billing on that is
nothing to do with it. Leonard, can I restate what I said? The whole idea behind doing what we did with the recreation thing was that so we would put people in categories so that Carlos, anybody dealing with the different organizations would have very good guidelines to go by and say, we are treating you exactly like everybody else. So there are not going to be exceptions. So our goal was to not have people coming in and asking, that's the reason why we went through this whole process, because before we had everybody and their grandmother coming in, everybody had different exceptions for everything. So, we couldn't administer stuff consistently across anybody because somebody would come in and say, I want this for 4 hours. And we'd say, no, you only get 2. And they say, well, so-and-so got it for 6. And so we were stuck in a situation where we had this mismatch of policies for everybody. So the whole goal was to sit there and say, okay, we want it to where, you know what, we don't have to deal with this. So the recreation group has a very consistent, here's all the different categories, this is what you got, we're treating you the same as your other compadre. So, and the idea, so that to me is that if the Foundations and Civic and Service Group, what the garden club should come in and say, wait a minute, they're in my category, you gave them 4 hours, I want my 4 hours. And that's why, because we do just what you said, we try and accommodate the foundation because, we want, the concert series is not a ton of people come, but it's a nice event, doesn't cost anybody anything, why not do it?
Well, like I said, that falls under number 2.
Is an exception. So almost everything we do with the foundation is an exception. So that's my problem with putting it in with a, that was the whole goal of this whole process is to get stuff in categories so we don't make any exceptions. Okay. So that's why I think it really needs to get a separate one because we already are making a lot of exceptions.
Right. So a couple of points. Having sat on the recreation group, I think there were initially 4 or 5 categories, 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B. So we decided, let's just do prioritization. And so I think the intent is prioritization. And I do believe that exceptions for certain things are valid. I do view very much the foundation as one of the core founders of Celebration. And I do view the foundation as significantly different from a garden club. Not knowing much about the garden club, but and I do believe that exceptions can be made and should be made extremely, if you will, liberally for the foundation. The other point I would make, and this dovetails on what Leonard said, we spent a year working on this. This was approved 2 months ago. So I would say live with it. Live with it. We'll make a lot of exceptions for the foundation. There may be others. Live with this for a year, see what other burrs come up, and we may end up with 15 or 20 categories a year from now. But let's live with it. The committee, as of 45 minutes ago, has just doubled in size. Let's see what the rest of the new committee members say. So I would support, I think it was Eric's motion. Whoever made the motion.
Paul's motion.
No, Paul's motion died.
Paul's motion died.
Sorry, then Leonard came with a motion.
Oh, I thought.
Yes, Leonard's motion, I second.
Yeah.
All right.
The motion was
what your motion was.
The motion was not change categories.
Oh, then I support that.
All right, Tim, anything to say? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of Leonard's motion
of not changing the category.
Anything.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
Paul's opposed. Okay, motion carries. All right, tab 13, motion to approve the change order for Hanson, Walter and Associates for the design, engineering of the Civic Quarter Road for $10,925. This is a CROA working capital reserve expenditure.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
For clarification, this is to pay for the work that Mark's been doing to try and really vet all the different options to get across that road, or get across that easement. So this is him working on all these different options.
Okay. If I need any further clarification, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 14, motion to approve the purchase of 2 misfire hydrants for use in Celebration Unleashed for $2,412. This is a CROA operating for dog park art. What is that? CROA.
I'm sorry, which number are we on?
This is tab 14. Motion to approve the purchase of 2 misfire hydrants for use in Celebration Unleashed for $2,412.
I'll motion to approve,
Yeah, I think it's cute, yeah, I'll second that.
but I want to ask Todd some things about.
Let me give you some clarification real quick, and then Todd can answer your questions. The Special Events Committee has been raising through the brick donations, through the art show that they had here, and this is the first selection that they're asking for some additional amenities with the park. So any logistical questions, Todd?
I think it's a cool idea.
I saw where they're going to be mounted on the far ends of each in the drawing. To install them, you're just going to drill the concrete and then just run the water in? Because I saw some water lines not too far, at least the heads. Is it a fairly simple install, not costing very much?
No. Potable, you won't use irrigation.
No, we use potable.
Don't want reclaimed water.
Yeah, we don't want green dogs.
It's my dog from smelling like a...
It's a simple core drill of the concrete, so we don't make a mess and just right underneath the concrete.
So your estimate on cost of putting it in?
About $300 for both of them.
Okay. I want to make sure we weren't approving this, and then we're going to come through and dig up concrete and, spend $5,000 putting in a fountain. So.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I was noticed about this, I think that's important for everyone to understand, is that it's not on all the time. It's on a demand system. So when you push the button, it goes off. So it's not like we're just spraying water.
It's like the dog water fountains.
Yeah, exactly.
100-degree days, this is going to come in handy.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Just to thank you again to the Special Events Committee with all their
For the
hard work raising
yeah.
money, and I think they're going to have some other ideas coming for some additional amenities. So thank you.
Good. That'd be great.
Don't go away.
All right, tab 15.
Camp out for a few minutes.
Motion to award the pool service maintenance contract or agreement to Allegria Pools for $4,600 per month, CROA operating expenditure.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Basically, this company does our fountains and everything. Is that what I read in the?
That's correct.
That is correct.
And, hang on, I'm trying to read my notes here. Oh, and in the contract also, there's a add-on amount for when they have to come out and do things special. How often do we ever have to do that in general? Just give me in the last year, how many hours might have that been?
Probably 3 or 4 hours maximum.
Okay, so it's very minimal.
It's minimal.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
you
Motion
heading
carries.
back?
Stay there, I'll be right back, I promise.
Okay, tab 16, the motion to renew the monthly pool site assessment with CES for $7,417.50 annually. This is a CROA operating expenditure.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
Claire, let's see.
And
Okay.
Basically-
No comment.
My discussion on that
It's been adjusted with the tax.
is it has been adjusted with the tax on
It's
the
been
new
adjusted
one?
On the agenda.
on the agenda.
Yeah, on the agenda item.
And
Okay, so we're ready to vote then?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Tab 17, motion to approve the landscape redesign around the North Village Commons Pool Building and Pavilion by New Leaf Property Services for $37,419.51. This is a CROA reserve expenditure.
So moved.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, I'd like to ask why you chose New Leaf versus a cheaper offer by Davy. And I'm not sure if they were actually compatible as far as the number of plants.
The New Leaf proposed additional plants from when we walked the area, and Davey really didn't take in the full scope from my opinion and working with New Leaf. So the overall price, if compared plant for plant, Davey would have been more expensive.
Okay.
So it's $2,000 difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had asked you in writing, and then I circulated your response to the board about why, just having walked around North Village, it didn't seem like it needed much. There were areas, the grasshopper infested areas.
Right.
But you've outlined some more. Can you just say that more for the record?
Yeah, it was the ligustrum trees that are overgrown and outlive their livelihood. They don't provide much buffering of the pool area along the fence. The new Spartan junipers and viburnum along the area will provide more buffering. It won't make you feel like you're sitting in the middle of the street while you're floating in the pool. The front of the building has Mexican petunias, which is an invasive plant. So those have to go. That's all along the foundation of the front of the pool. And the other big ticket item was the magnolia trees that are not doing any accenting for the pavilion because they're way above the roof line. So those were proposed to be pulled out and then have Eagleston hollies put in, which would give you more buffering from the street for activities.
It looked like a lot of the perimeters, both for I think the volleyball area and the pool area.
Yes, the majority of the expenditures along between the pool and the volleyball court area.
Between the two or around the two?
Around the pool fence, but not much going on past the volleyball area.
Okay.
Okay. Any further?
I actually, not that we probably don't have some money in reserves, but this reserve study analysis in here is faulty. And the reason that it's faulty is you show amounts from 2014 and 2015. Once you get, and we got our reserve study, they start in 2017 showing, and I did not have time to talk with you this week in that what was our exact balance on January 1st, 2017 for our replacement reserves. If it was 924, I believe it was 924,000 and some odd dollars. If it was that amount, then these amounts from 2014 and 2015 and 16 are all bogus. We don't have that money. It's not included in the amounts going forward.
Right. I think that, I don't know the answer to your question, but we had to project out in June how much we would spend through the end of the year, and we projected $500,000. We didn't spend that through the end of the year. So I believe our reserves are overstated. We didn't specifically identify projects that we were going to complete, whereas in the service areas we were able to do that because it was much less comprehensive. But a lot of the projects were landscaping projects that, quite frankly, Davey was so far behind the 8 ball last year that we truly couldn't ask them to do any additional things.
But what I would like, and I'm going to go ahead and vote for this because we're still not going to run that particular, whether you consider it either the line item 1057 or 1060.
Right.
We're still not going to run that completely down.
Right, Leonard, can you deal with that with Susan? Because
Yes,
we're
we
running
can
real
do
late.
that.
I understand that. I just,
No, you're correct.
I want to make sure we're spending money that we have, and we do have it here, but if that amount was the same, that means that the rest of these balances down here we don't have, and we may not have enough to do another project this year if we're trying to do something. I just want to get that settled before we go
Can you visit with her?
try to spend any more. Yes, sir, I'm done.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion carries. Tab 18, I'm sorry, Debbie wanted to revisit something.
Yes, the motion was made, going back to, hold on, 10A. The motion was made by Paul on 10A, but there wasn't a second.
That's correct.
And it should have died, and I don't know why there was a motion to disapprove that was made.
It did die. No one made a second, and then I made a motion to disapprove, Tim seconded it.
But why, but if,
No,
but
you're
why do we
talking about
need to
12,
just?
though.
We're talking about 12 or 10A?
12.
I'm sorry, 12, I'm sorry.
The Communications Committee?
No, it's 12.
Are you talking about the foundation?
Yeah, 12, I'm sorry,
Okay.
yes. But I mean, if the motion died, I don't know why there's a motion to disapprove. Wouldn't it just, I mean,
No.
I don't.
That's a
What's-
subsequent motion.
A different motion.
Once a motion dies, another motion can be made.
So if you take no action on it, then the request is just sitting out there with nothing
Right.
happening to it. So you took action on it, you just didn't approve it.
Okay.
A new motion was put forward.
Yes.
Motion to approve was dead, because
Okay.
it didn't get a second. Leonard motion to do the opposite, and it was seconded and approved.
Okay. Then I didn't record my vote because I came in and I was confused on that. So I want to go with a no just because I feel this, I'm not sure.
I don't think you were here.
No, I didn't vote. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was a motion, there was no second, and there was that, and I left and I didn't know where we were.
Well, Leonard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but don't Robert's Rules of Order say that if you were here and then leave and you're not part of the vote, it counts as an affirmative vote?
Yes.
Right.
No, you were here.
It counts as
You
an
just didn't vote.
affirmative? Okay.
Well, even not voting
Whatever the
counts towards
majority
it.
is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, or, yeah, whatever the majority.
Wait, can you repeat that?
If you started the meeting and then you decided not to vote or you left the room during the vote and the majority is affirmative, your vote counts towards affirmative.
Whichever way you voted, though, Debbie, doesn't matter, because as far as I recall, I voted, you voted, David voted, and Tim voted to deny the request of them moving up to a 1A status. So we have 4 votes.
Okay, but in the discussion, did you guys discuss letting them use the space, or what happened with that?
Well, they had requested permission before
Okay.
and been given it by the rec committee.
Right. So they did approve permission?
The rec committee,
The fees were waived for all, okay.
the rec committee waived
Okay.
those fees, and actually, in truth, they should come to us.
And that's not a part of the motion anyway.
But that's not part of that motion. But in
Okay.
practice, all of the things the rec committee waives should actually come up
You
to
did
us.
give them authority through the resolution, though, to address
that, yeah.
waiver of any type of events that are charitable events.
Right.
Gave them that authority. So you are correct, I think, with this one, that it's because it's not a charitable event. I mean, I think that there could be an argument made that it's a not-for-profit. and
No,
there's
but I'm
money
not
to
for
make.
it being waived. I said that in the recreation committee
I
meeting.
understand.
Okay, look, we're at tab 18
So
now.
is Debbie's vote recorded appropriately? Is the,
According to him, I can't change it, yeah. Okay.
so it's recorded as a
It's
yes?
by
It will be,
affirmative.
yes.
It's by affirmative, but yeah, but I didn't vote.
You didn't vote.
I didn't vote.
So since you didn't since you didn't verbalize anything, it's an abstain, isn't it?
No.
No, because it's the same, so I'll give an example. When I
So
call
silence is yes?
silence is yes.
Silence or leaving the room
Okay.
is a yes.
Yeah.
Silence is with the majority.
With the majority.
So if the
Okay.
majority was no, then it would have gone with the
It's kind of
majority.
like when I'm on
Call for
the
a
phone
revote,
and I don't
like
say anything.
Well, I mean, technically, I guess you could call for
I mean,
revote
really,
if you were
that's
with
kinda what it is.
affirmative vote.
Call for a revote and vote no.
Okay, 19, that's,
Tab 18.
can't do revote.
Motion to approve the installation of a paver sidewalk between the volleyball court and pool area by New Leaf Property Services for $5,850 as a CROA operating expenditure.
So moved.
I'll second it for discussion, but part of my discussion is
Ask that young man right there.
Is it needed? And I mean, Jack, you know that pool better, and I believe David knows that pool much better than I do. So the real question in my mind on that is, what are we gaining out of doing this particular thing?
Well, I will tell you one thing. We have a problem with the water or the chemicals coming off that edge of the pool,
Yes.
draining into that area, and it's all dead.
Yeah, don't you remember how bad that was?
Yeah, it's all dead in that area.
The landscape's dead.
Rotted.
Completely, in fact, it was green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like algae.
Yeah,
Okay.
So chemicals coming from where?
from the pool.
From the pool.
From the pool,
And
like
in
splashing.
particular, remember, Leonard, you were looking at the infestation on that one plant?
Yeah,
I want to get rid of
grasshopper
all
or
those
something.
plants altogether.
Now, is that all getting pavers over the top of? That's not in that, I didn't think.
I don't know, is that?
The pavers go across the back between the pool and the volleyball area.
And in those two boxes.
It does not affect the
Not the
area that had the
complete box.
grasshoppers.
Is it inside the pool area or outside?
Outside the pool area.
That's what I
It
read.
doesn't address then the problem.
Yeah,
does
the
not- does not
landscaping
address
will
the
address that problem.
Okay.
I would suggest that we also talk about this in line with 18, because they go, to me, I'm sorry, 18 and 19, because they go hand in hand, I believe.
No, it's a different thing.
It's different, but it's related.
Related, but it's a different motion.
Okay?
Okay, now, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
On the, if part of the intent of the pavers was to keep, was I was reading, was to keep the sand from the volleyball court from going into the pool area.
No,
I read that in the notes, that it's about migration of sand into the pool area. And so what I wrote back was, it seems to me that the ground level would be more of a deterrent than a bricked level. And then part of the other rationale was for ease of access from the two directions on Celebration Boulevard.
Correct.
So we have, it's only 50 yards away to go to a sidewalk, and it's another 75 the other way.
What's your purpose of paving?
Purpose is to create a better access movement between the pool and the volleyball area. That seems to be where people migrate to and from. The shower that we'll get into next was intended because there's already a yard drain right in that vicinity, so therefore it'd be less expensive to install. The water line is right there. The pavers have an additional area for park benches to sit, and the paver area would be for the shower as well.
So the paver, you're going to be paving the area where the shower would be?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, that makes sense.
And if you look, when the people go to service the pool, they have to duck down, walk through the sand and landscape to get there. It just made sense to offer that up as
What
a
about your tree on the picture?
improvement.
Are you paving around that?
It's removed.
Gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
The picture blew up a little bit.
Yeah, it did.
All right.
No, this is, you can see.
Okay, all in favor?
Shows it being removed.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, David and Debbie is nays. Motion carries. Tab 19, motion to approve the installation of a shower and drinking fountain between the volleyball court and North Village Commons pool area by McCrory Recreation for, I believe there's a modification on that price, isn't there?
Eric, did you modify that?
It's an extra $1,555.
So we're talking about $5,340.
To add the bottle filler.
Correct. So I'll make the motion to approve the installation of a shower, drinking fountain, and bottle filler to the volleyball court and North Village Common pool area by McCrory Recreation for the amount provided by management. $5,340. Is that the amount?
Yes.
Okay. $5,340.
Second.
No second. Motion dies.
Motion dies.
Motion dies.
There you go.
Jack, the chairman can second. You know that, right?
He doesn't like the bottle.
No, I'm not, I'm just,
I understand.
I just want to make you.
Wait, I have a question before we, hold on a second. The, what you're adding there, do we have that anywhere in the community or not?
No.
Isn't that, do they normally have that inside the building? Do we?
They make them for outdoors.
They make
That's
them
what
for outdoors. This is an outdoor one.
Is the water bottle filler upper filtered
Yes.
water?
Yes. Yeah.
It's coming off the same extension that the regular water is.
It's the same.
I'll second. I think we need to discuss it.
It's the same as a drinking fountain, but it's not a.
But for the record, I'm concerned about public access to an open shower.
Oh, okay.
That's for the record. And I would also, for the record, suggest if there's concerns about sand from the volleyball court getting into the pool, let's look at the existing shower, which has no lip right now, like home showers have. So, and then drainage from that shower could go right into the brand-new to the shrubbery that we're planting. But we need to look at actually some other drainage or way to keep that sand from going into the pool.
Do we want to separate out the shower from the drinking fountain, or are they connected? Eric,
It's the same. Well, I think the problem is that if you move them, it's going to impact the cost. Because
It would have to get a new proposal for
Well,
it.
we got water source and drainage source.
We do.
You need another one?
So was there a motion and a second then? I think that'd be second.
Well, Debbie seconded for
discussion
discussion's sake.
purposes, yeah. So it's all one,
it's one unit, you just put another arm on it.
What is, I guess as I go through things like that, it's what is the real need of it there?
The real need is specifically for the shower. Over the past 2 years, I've been for the volleyball players to shower off before they go to. Right now, they're going to the pool. They're either not showering off and jumping in the pool, or they're showering off and splashing and.
Okay, but there's a shower in the pool.
There is a shower in the pool.
So,
but the sand is still getting in the
Yes.
pool.
What makes you think they would bypass that first, or, I'm sorry, if they bypass the second one now, that they wouldn't bypass the first one also?
Well,
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
there's
that
any guarantee.
there's
I mean,
no guarantees in life.
I think what we have here is, again, a problem that's been brought to us on 2 consecutive walkthroughs, and this is a solution to the problem. Again, it might not be the solution that you all approve tonight, but this is a solution that we're trying to bring forward.
Is the purpose of this fountain, I mean, is to wash feet off? Is that what we're trying to do?
I think
the purpose was the shower, and then the bonus was
They
the,
fall, they fall in that sand when they dive for balls.
the bonus was the water fountain.
Well, from the standpoint that we have the cat feces problem, the sand, maybe we need to have a shower.
I think, so, but I do want to hear more about the concern of the public shower piece, that it's just out and about. So
Yeah,
what's
if it's
the,
public access and not key card controlled, then I'm concerned about anyone coming in and showering,
Yeah,
whether they're clothed or not.
street people or whatever from 192, for example.
I'm very concerned about that.
okay.
I would disagree with that, because there's a lot of hose bibs that are in the backyards that have hoses and stuff on them that you can shower right on those too.
well, that would be going into private property.
You can go at my garage door and there's one right there. I'm just saying, I don't know.
It
if
will
I
be
see-
known. Yeah, we will have photographs within a month.
I think Leonard has to use the.
Leonard needs to
take
use
a
the
break for a
facilities,
second.
so.
All right, look,
Do you want to take a break, or do you want?
do you want to table this so we get a little more information on it, or you want to vote for this thing?
I'm ready to
I
vote.
think tabling's a good idea.
Okay, what's the?
I'm ready to vote.
All right, you ready to vote?
I don't know where tabling would leave us as far as.
We can't table because there's a motion on the floor.
Oh, there's a motion.
never mind.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Sorry.
changed yet, Rachel.
I'm getting tired.
So the motion that's currently on the floor, which I haven't withdrawn yet, is to approve the installation of a shower, drinking fountain, and bottle filler between the volleyball court and North Village Commons Pool area by McCrory in the amount of
$5340.
This was seconded by Debbie?
Correct.
For discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Aye.
No, 4 ayes.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Leonard and David. Motion carries. Tab 20.
Thank you.
I'm opposed, yes.
All right, tab 20, motion to approve the painting of East Village duplexes by GB Painting for $12,016.08. East Village duplex service area reserve expenditure.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Teresa would like to offer some clarification first on this, and then
I would
any
like to hear
logistical
this.
questions.
Yeah.
I would like to hear this.
Sure. So East Village is due for painting, and the owners are very excited to have this project take off. We did send it out to bid and received 3 bids. GB Painting is management's recommendation, while all 3 companies that were requested, well, there were more than 3, but the 3 bids we received are all from reputable companies. One bid did come in late. And we had both GB Painting and Vice Painting, both their bids came in by the deadline. And we have used Vice Painting on several projects. One of the concerns with this particular project is that Vice Painting is working through in a lot of areas in Celebration, not only for us, but for Sienna, for CROA, and they have a lot of projects under their belt right now. With this particular project and the owners being very eager to see this project come through as seamless as possible, one of our concerns is using a company that is really stretched a little thin. There's also the advantage that GB Painting does come highly recommended. They use Sherwin-Williams. They have a good partnership with them. They, and we did discuss that because all of our new paint palette books are Sherwin-Williams. And there is also the benefit too that as the board had requested in 2016, we start sourcing new vendors. We bring new people in, we start getting 3 bids. One of both Todd and my feedback to the board at that time was, if we're not going to be using a diverse bidding pool, we will start losing people coming to bid on these projects. And that's not the only reason, but it is just another advantage based on what the board's direction was last year. And so, like I said, all 3 companies are reputable. They all have good reputations in this community and also with CAI. That.
All right. Question for Teresa.
Sure.
What company of paint does Vice use?
Well, Vice will use Sherwin. They've also used Porter.
No difference there, but my problem is you have 6 units here. $1,200 difference between Vice and the GB company, whatever it is. That's $200 per unit. They're being paid extra for the painting. Had it been factored out on a larger project, then I would say maybe we could accept another company. But to me, this is a very small service area, and $1,200 really impacts your budget a lot.
Yes, and to build on what Jack's just said, the other bid was even lower than that by $1,300.
So why did we go with
$1,200 lower?
Well, they actually came in late, though, so that is we felt that if you can't get your bid in on time, that might not bode well for the project.
It's not a good way to start the relationship.
No,
It isn't,
probably.
but again, if you're trying to build a more diversified labor pool, and they want to participate in that, and they came in and possibly gave you a low ball bid to get into that labor pool, wouldn't this be adding a new one in as well as adding GB Painting?
Well, Leonard, I would say to them that you would have won the bid had you put your stuff in on time. And maybe next time we get on
If
time.
we were a government, which we're not, if we were, they would not even bring
I would never accept them.
I wasn't actually going to include it, but it was one of the few times I actually got 3 bidders, so I was like, I wanted to show you I actually get 3 bids.
All right.
I understand.
I agree with, I guess I'm leaning towards what Jack has just said, that, and Tim, that because the one was late.
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Painting 365 was late because they were late. I would just as soon go with the next highest reputable that we've used and seems to be doing quite well, and not have these.
Can you state that in a motion form?
Well,
You're just stating it right
And
now.
may I
Just say,
also-
move to-
May I also include one other detail?
I move to approve Vice Painting at their agreed upon amount in this docket, $10,800.
Okay.
I would like to hear a detail on
So let's see if we have a
I need
second.
a second first.
I'll second.
Okay, now the discussion goes.
One of the things that I would request as the board is going with, not management's recommendation, totally fine, is that we include in that motion that the CROA board is requiring that Vice Painting have a full-time project manager on site at all times for this bid price.
Okay.
Why is that?
Amend your motion.
Is that what was going to happen with?
GB Painting, yes. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's a difference in the pricing at all. It's just because of the concern that we have, that Vice is doing a lot of work. Look at Sienna, they're doing a lot of painting work for them. There's a lot of ongoing work that I think it is important to these 6 owners that they have a dedicated project manager. It's not spelled out in the bid, and that doesn't, and in the past, we've had a project manager who comes and checks on the job, but I do think it's critical that they have an and I think if that's part of the motion, that's very easy for us to go back and say, you won the bid with this contingent,
Have you
contingency.
spoken to these owners about the differences in the bids? And said, we can go here, or we can go to this one, $200 a unit cheaper?
No, I mean, they do know that it's on the board agenda, and these bids are posted. We did let them know that this would be the night where you decide what contractor would have the bid.
I would amend the motion to include the on-site manager.
Amend your motion.
If you would do that, please.
I will start again. I motion to approve Vice Painting for $10,800 with the addendum or stipulation is a better word, that they will have an on-site manager as the project progresses.
And a second, please.
I second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
Two nays.
The 2 nays. Good. And Eric, we've had more nays tonight.
I'm spicing it up.
Yes, you are, young man.
All right, motion to request the CROA liaison to discuss the addition of 4 red maples at the next CCDD workshop on behalf of the Blue Sage Townhome owners.
So moved?
And a second, please?
I'll second it, but those liaisons are a bunch of idiots.
So,
That's you. I know.
That's on the site.
Is there any discussion?
I do have
Not
some.
about the idiot part, but
I do have some background if the motion passes that I will forward on to the liaisons with correspondence between myself and the CDD leading up to tonight's motion. So I can certainly pass along. At least it gives you kind of where we are.
Am I correct that they are actually only requesting 2 new red maples, and 2 of the other 2 were previously there, had died off or had been removed?
There's a question about that.
CDD owes them to them anyway.
There's a dispute on that. The CD did provide a early kind of map drawing showing what trees were allocated. It may very well have been, and I've discussed this with a couple of the owners, that the Blue Sage owners initially were given some trees that maybe should not have been there, and then when they were taken back, obviously the owners said, well, where's my tree? So there's some factors there that I'm not necessarily requesting all owners come out and request trees, but in this particular service area, if you go out during the daytime, there is very little shade, and the owners have said they can't actually use their front doorknobs in the summer without having something to cover it. It's too hot.
So the best outcome for the owners would be if CDD would say, yeah, we'll do 4, but the acceptable would be if we put in 2 from the CDD and the owners pay for the other 2 with their permission.
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 22, motion to approve the selective root pruning of 2 live oaks in the alley of 903 and 909 Blue Sage that are affected sidewalks and driveway aprons by Enviro Tree Service in the amount of $700 in lieu of the approved removal at the March board meeting. This is a Blue Sage service area reserve expenditure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just have a question. The root pruning, the president brought it up because of the issue, but this is happening in a lot of areas in the community. Are we having anyone look at this? And is root pruning, is this a CDD tree?
No.
No, these are the owner's trees.
These are owner trees, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not looking.
Because these are in the alley.
Okay, okay.
I think it's absolutely an option as we start talking about these types of situations. We'll look at this.
They're coming out. Yeah.
It'll also be a big topic. Susan and I have talked about this, and we've included Steve. This will be a very big topic going into our budgets for service areas next year, because we do have a lot of really beautiful trees that are causing some damage on the ground level. So it's going to be a conversation with the owners and with the management team to look at what we're going to do next year to alleviate some of these problems.
Okay.
But this, just so that you're aware, you did make a motion to remove these 2 trees after a meeting with the arborist and with the service area, and the service area owners who were directly affected by the 2 trees that were coming out. They've all collectively agreed they do not want the trees gone. They are aware, on camera, they are aware that this is not a permanent solution. This is a temporary, gives them about 4 to possibly 5 years before this topic will come back up, and that is their preferred route to resolve this problem.
So there's a risk to killing the tree?
Excuse me, go ahead.
Okay.
Is there a risk to killing the tree?
There's a risk of
No,
killing it.
and that's why EnviroTree was a part of the meeting to hear what the owners did not like about the removal portion. They had some alternate suggestions, and EnviroTree came in with their expertise and explained why some of those wouldn't solve the problem, and this is the best route. The owners, both of the owners who are having the biggest trip hazards in the back, have agreed that when we do it, they will coordinate doing the concrete work for their driveways to coincide with the tree root work, and that'll be on their expense. There'll be some walkway that is part of the shared responsibility, which is part of reserve funding for service areas. That'll also fit in. So everybody basically has agreed to get out their checkbook and make it happen.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the owners are in support?
This is actually their request.
Their request.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Down the road, we got 10 more.
Two-thirds the way.
All right, motion to approve the labor and materials for the trellises on Mulberry and campus as detailed on the attached diagram by Scott Walker and Associates for $42,499.76. This is an Academy Row Meeting House Green Service Area expenditure.
Motion approved for discussion.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Discussion is, again, this reserve study here, you can't go back into it. You have to start at the 2017 study.
They should have been done last year, so in that $500,000.
Well, we started them.
Yeah,
they
we
were
started
started.
them, but we had anticipated that they'd be done.
So I'm showing right now that you start at the beginning of the year in their reserves for Meeting House Green and Academy Row of $144,003. How much more than that did you start with?
I don't know, but I can tell you. I've done the cash projections. I just don't have them with me.
Because this is the critical year for
Right.
funding for them already, and I don't want them running out of money completely.
Right. One of the things that happened is because the roof project was postponed, they
On
paid-
campus.
On campus. They paid additional funds in one of those years, and I'll have to get you the detail, because I thought to myself...
No, they paid $183,000 for a couple of different years additionally, and then in 2018, it shows it going back down to 125.
125, right.
But if this is indeed drying their funds up, they're going to have to raise that budget for the next couple of years on their, it's not going to go down, I guess. I will approve it as long as there are funds there that they're not going to run zero by the end of the year.
And I'll give you that.
All right. All right, is there any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Tab 24, the motion to approve 3 change orders for roof replacement from Drake Exteriors for $4,120.40. This is the South Village Townhome Service Area Reserve expenditure.
Motion to approve it.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
Basically, this is with Drake, as I recall.
Right.
Have they had any change orders for any other projects? In other words, they've underbid on several projects. And if you underbid and then you come in and you change order up enough to make where your other bid was, I'm not happy using them, not necessarily for what we've already contracted for,
Right.
but as we go forward. So
That hasn't been the case here, and in fact, Todd and I have talked about this very topic to make sure that, I was well-versed on what change orders would be appropriate. South Village was unusual circumstances that would have prevented us moving forward. One was, as an example, was $1,000 expense to have an emergency bee person come out. When they started to pull the roof, there was a huge beehive underneath that was attacking.
I wasn't questioning
Okay.
that one at all.
Okay.
It's the other two in that same tab.
Looks like the tarp purchase.
What was the tarp purchase?
We actually, the service area had actually requested they further protect plants and railings and things like that, and asked them to go out and get larger tarps that would hold the materials without it being smaller tarps where they would come through. And that was part of our request.
Okay.
How many tarps did they buy?
It was actually quite a lot, because they were working on 3 buildings at the same time.
15 or more?
Probably about that.
Okay, because at 20 by 30
No,
tarp is about
they were on
$68
multiple buildings.
at Home Depot. Okay.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Tab 25, the motion to approve owner's rep invoices for the roof replacement from William John Associates for $25,650. This is South Village Townhome.
Why don't we do all 3 of these? Because they're all William John.
All right.
25,
Tab
26, and
26, and 27. Motion to approve invoices for roof replacement for William John for $25,650, $15,500, $9,800.
And I will motion.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
And any discussion?
Can
Yeah.
you make sure that on the third, if whatever the top floor is, there's not pipes against the roofing area on any of these places, so we don't have another?
There are. They are on, but the issue with the fire suppression system is that is the way that only Charleston Place has been built. We have done 3-story townhomes, and we didn't have any of those issues on campus or Mulberry. We did not have those issues at South Village. So this is exclusive issue so far to Charleston Place and only on those 3-story units. And the responsibility for relocating all of those fire suppression units would be the owners. So, because it's on an interior unit and it is exclusive to their unit. It's not a shared suppression system through the whole service area, like a condo. It would be then the condo associations to fix it.
Did the individual install it?
No. The builders did.
Okay.
The only question that I have, and this is probably just not me understanding the invoice, but like, for instance, why are there different prices for different garages? Is it just they spent more time on one than another?
In some cases, or there were, because they go by building.
Okay.
And so in some buildings, there weren't as many units as the next building.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, okay.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I guess this goes back to Savannah Square real quick. As you guys all know, we've had an email from Savannah Square well, I'm not sure whether, I don't like mentioning homeowners by name.
We know what to do.
That's okay.
But by one of the homeowners on the flashing and the gutter. And we've all had that email this last week.
And we've met with that owner on Monday.
Was it resolved this week, or what's this?
Well, it's not been completed, but yes, we have met with the owner in question and also with the president of Gutter Masters, who is in charge of the gutter project. And I believe after that meeting, on those particular issues, the owner is satisfied with the responses on either the items where the clarification on why things happened the way they were, or in some cases where James from Gutter Masters says, yep, we can fix that.
Okay, no, I wasn't worried necessarily about things get messed up, but when I looked at the pictures of how it looked currently, which was last week's pictures, I'm sure, that concerned me. I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and that this gentleman here that we're getting ready to issue this fairly large check to is doing his due diligence to make sure that he is truly an owner's rep for these people.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that brings us down to 28. It's a motion to approve to initiate the fining process for 6 non-compliance items through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine.
So moved?
And I will second that.
Okay. Further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Steve, the lady that was in, was this concerning this or something else?
It was the specific assessment.
So it's which number?
It's number 29.
It's the next one.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 29, the motion to approve to convert 4 fines to a specific assessments. S9.
So moved?
Second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
I moved, and Leonard will take a second.
I'll take a second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Do you know which one she is?
I don't, but any of these would have been past the point, I believe, of going through the initial imposing the fines, Covenant Committee, yes or no, appeal. I'll check on the appeal for that one, but this is to the point where it's converting that fine to specific assessments.
Okay. I spoke with this lady over here this evening, and she's got some medical problems, so she couldn't stay. She's just had recent hip surgery. She said, welcome to say that. So at the point of specific assessment, we're going to go and we're going to have our attorney file that.
It would be on her account as a specific assessment then, as opposed to
Okay,
just
we're not
a fine.
using the attorney yet.
I believe that this is just a conversion to specific.
Okay. So if she wanted to appeal, she could come back to us and appeal. Okay, and she said she's going to call Susanna in the morning, so I'm finished. I'm ready to vote yes, whatever we're...
Call the question.
All right, I'm sorry, what's it?
Call the question.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
We're in the 30s now.
Tab 30, motion to approve to have CCMC send 3 service area intent to lien letters to all owners delinquent as of the March 30 assessment.
So moved.
Second, please.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Any opposed? No. Motion carries.
I'm sorry, did you have
Aye.
No, there's no opposition. It's me talking. Okay. Tab 31, motion to approve one payment plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Call the question.
Looks reasonable.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 32, motion to approve 4 homeowner requests totaling $120.58.
I'd like to bifurcate these.
I love bifurcation.
Oh, man, that's pure.
And I move to approve number 1 and number 3.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 1 and 3 are approved.
No, I just wanted to no, we can go either way. I'll motion to approve 2 and 4, but I want to discuss.
I'll
it.
second it.
And the discussion basically has to do with policy. We've talked about ITLs before, but I've circled this in real policy on my thing here. They have had 1 ITL in the last 5 years, and they've had 1 late fee, but they've never ever gotten a waiver. That's for number 2. The other one has 1 ITL. They've had a couple late fees, and they've used 1 waiver. We have said before we would allow up to 2 waivers in a 5-year period, but ITL was a little bit fuzzy to me as to, again, I'm trying to be consistent on these things, as to what we had decided in prior meetings on that. Any comments?
I think you were more specific on when it came to trying to go by some guidelines when it came to previous waivers in the past 5 years. That's most of the discussion's been around.
That's what I feel like, so I did already motion to approve that, and Eric seconded it, so if no one else...
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then 2 and 4 approved.
Okay, so you're only approving.
They're all.
We
all
approved, we approved 1 and 3 the first time, and then 2 and 4 the second time.
Should have been 1 to 4, but he broke it up to me.
Yes.
2 separate motions, ended up.
2 separate motions each time through. First one was 1 and 3, second was 2 and 4.
All right, tab 33, the motion to approve 1 attorney instructed write-off for $36.12.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 34.
Why do we even keep things like that? Why do we?
Motion to approve 1 legal recommendation.
I move to accept the proposal, provided that the first installment is made and the payment agreement is executed within the next week as defined by beginning on Thursday, April 26th. 27th, sorry, thank you.
Basically, the attorney's recommendation.
Correct. I just wanted to define when the week was.
And I'll
second that.
Tim seconds it.
And the homeowner has already made that payment.
Yes, he already made the
Okay.
$1,700
Yeah.
payment. Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we get down to the very end where we don't talk about our goals this month.
They're in there.
Yeah,
It's in the
really?
agenda.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is there anything special in the goals? I don't have anything.
I don't have
It's too early.
I have 2
I'll tell you what,
reports.
I would ask that we suspend the discussion about the goals because it's 10:09 right now.
Jack, can I ask, can you, if you suspend it now, you can bring them back next Tuesday, because you're not taking any action and you're meeting in a workshop next Tuesday, so you can take them and carve out a little bit of time to discuss this.
Do you want to start with them Tuesday then? We'll start with them Tuesday?
If I may make just 2 very quick comments, 15 seconds. One is you already got this by email, draft, flash survey, I don't know what we want to call it. We can talk about that more on Tuesday. Second, Paul and I met today, and we'll talk about the process, but you've already gotten what I sent out earlier. We'll do another reminder. 15 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you,
Um,
sir.
Any other comments?
I just want to thank Mark for his service on the Covenants and welcome him to the Park and Rec Committee. I want to thank the Garden Club and the Eagle Scouts for the work they did on the Memorial Garden. It looks
Yeah.
amazing and beautiful. And I want to thank Chick-fil-A for donating the food for our last meet and greet.
That was very
Thank
good.
you.
And just a reminder, our next meet and greet will be on May 19th at 4 o'clock South Village. Is that correct?
I got the impression from her, her inquisition is that she's thinking about, I think she's really thinking about doing that at every one of them.
Yes, she said she would do it every one. But do we want to combine that with the meet and greet for our new deputy instead of having a meeting back and back?
No, because the meet and greet with the deputy is, it came as a surprise for everybody, but the CDD as well is going to be there.
Well,
Okay.
who's going to be there from the CDD?
Everybody.
So it needs to be a notice meeting.
The 5:30, it's a 5:30 meeting.
I understand that, but I was not aware that they were coming. When I talked to Floyd last, they weren't coming to meet in mass. My last conversation with Floyd was, we had thought about asking him to come out like half hour early for a meet and kind of a little bit more of a business end for half hour than the meet and greet. And I spoke with Brenda, his secretary, and she said he has nothing afterwards. So why don't, when he gets there, you say, look, when we're through with the regular meet and greet, can we have a separate side meeting if we want to have a meeting at that point? We'll need to have whatever issues we want to bring before them available at that time from whomever, whether it's CDD or us.
Okay. That's fine.
The meet and greet for you all is on May 17th in South Village.
I'm sorry, I had the wrong date.
17th. It's just a day.
And the others are May 18th?
Yes.
The sheriff is here on May 18th.
What time for the sheriff?
5:30.
5:30.
I mean, it's up to you guys. If you want to move it to 4 on the 18th, and if you want to keep it separate on the 17th, that's
Well,
fine.
let me say, the 5:30 meeting is for the entire town.
Okay.
Okay.
And we probably can't put them on. Okay. And are we meeting inside in Heritage Hall on the 17th?
The sheriff's May 18th?
We have Heritage Hall.
17th at 4 to 6?
Yes.
Yeah.
Inside, okay.
I want to thank whoever arranged this visual arrangement so we can see each other. So thank you.
I think
That
that's
would
Pete,
be,
wasn't it?
no, JR and
Whoever-
Teresa and Patrick and I worked on
But
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
It works. Thank you very much.
It does.
Thank you.
Sheriff is May 18th, South Village is May 19th?
17th.
17th.
I knew that.
I believe the
46.
Xfinity experience will be here on the 18th and 19th also. That's the big bus with all the Xfinity.
And I'd like to thank our two remaining audience members for.
Yes,
I mean,
you're.
I think Rachel gets credit here too. You know?
You get the prize.
Yeah, you get the hang in.
And prior to moving to adjourn, I would also like to thank the 3 people watching at home right now still.
You know, and
So who have it still streaming?
I moved to adjourn.
One of them
move
seems
to adjourn. Second.
Is he still on?
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Turn that off, will you?
Gracias.
What, we run out of tape?
Buenas noches.
Yeah.
All of the board members signed it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I passed it down.